send 10th backstage, I will acknowledge that as well. It's up to you. Let me know in the chat. Back to
And
you, Mrs. Balderson. I apologize.
So I was going to say one of the things that I'm not going to speak for all women, but in general, if you want to have a submissive wife, you need to prove that your leadership skills are good and that you have her best interest at heart and not always suspect that she's about to betray you or assume that she's a piece of shit just because she's a woman and is incapable of being.
And tell her she can't watch movies because she'll get hypnotized.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, women think more emotionally than men do. And it's not that there aren't exceptions to every rule. There are men who think far more emotionally and women who are very, very logical. But yes, we tend to be more emotional. So be consistent and be a good leader, and you'll attract a good woman.
Yeah, and I would say Miss Balderson, by the way, knowing your husband, I think he's a bit barbaric and animal loving and knows how to kill and like eat things. And I think that's actually a good father role. Like, I think that actually raised a good man, because if everything went to hell, who is going to take care of you? Right? Like, he's going to be able to take. Right. And I love your husband, by the way. So when I said he's barbaric, I didn't mean like in a bad way.
No.
I mean, I think you need a little bit of that, but at the same time, and he also has a very logical mind. Now, his mind and I don't always agree. We definitely have some off thoughts, but at least he's willing to talk about it and discuss it. And I think that's a good role model for a boy. But I also think with just him, maybe the kids might be a little bit too crazy, and he needs you in there as well. And that gives everybody that even balance, right? And that is the ultimate scenario for raising children, is to have the mother there for when the dad's going, yeah, go ahead, shoot it. And mom's like, no, we already shot enough today. We got enough to eat today. We don't need to get crazy.
His job is to be the rules. His job is to be the foundation. His job is to set the tone. But my job is to be the heart. My job is to explain behind the scenes. Yeah, it sucked that your dad had to punish you, but this is why he had to punish you. We both love you. And these are the consequences when you fall out of line. He's the hard line. I'm the soft touch. And it works well together. And I appreciate about him that if I don't understand his leadership, I can ask him and he will make sure that I understand, because if I understand, we're golden. I want to genuinely understand things. I'm a curious person. Explain it to me, because there have been so many things that I have disagreed with him from the beginning. We would have knockdown, drag out arguments about, no, it doesn't work that way. And then he would show me. And the proof is in the pudding. And that leadership I had to trust. And I trust it more and more all the time, because when I don't believe him, he's right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in terms of like sexual dynamics, I think I agree with a lot of what you were saying, Ms. Balderson. But at the same time, it's like the patriarchy selects like the good candidates, and then women pick off like from the top. And the issue is that if your cultural criteria for what a good man is slanted, you're going to get a bad selection. So, for example, like the idea that women have to be able to trust their men, of course they have to. Men have to trust other men as well. It's like we're embedded in a society, and we have men above us. Like if you have a job, you probably have a boss, and you have to be able to trust your boss to a certain degree. The question is not whether, let's say, we can ask our boss to show us their credentials, because no amount of credentials will, let's say, substitute the substance, the character, the love that you're talking about. And in that sense, I think that what we were sold in the West is the idea that we can always question authority, and we should be able to put ourselves in the place of questioning authority in order to guarantee an equal or just outcome. And I get where that, let's say, impetus comes from. It comes from the idea that, well, before in the past, like kings had children, and like the children, even no matter how incompetent they were, they would inherit. And if you were friends with the Pope, you would have like power, and you would have wealth because you were well connected. And the Enlightenment came in and said, hey, we don't want arbitrary leaders. We don't want our society run by a corrupt gang. We actually want to have our rules spelled out so that everybody can understand those rules. But the problem that I see is that we have gone so far that people are always demanding from their authorities something that they cannot ever receive. So, like, if you say, women should be able to trust men, there's nothing that men can do to become trustworthy forever. You can try to look at like signals of competence, but you don't know if that guy is going to be competent when shit hits the fan.
Well, and you have to be able to trust whether the competency. One thing that I am very stern about in terms of if I wanted to start dating again and let a man in my life, you have to be incredibly competent. Like, that is my children at risk for that, right? And I would essentially be putting them in your hands. I mean, even though they have their dad, right? That's still another factor, but you are going to be in their life, and you have to be competent. And I have to know and trust that you don't just go like spending money on crazy stuff. You're not a gambler. You're not an alcoholic. You're not like a ding dong who doesn't even know how to screw on a light bulb kind of thing. In order for me to say, here's the reins, take them and lead us, I have to know I can trust you to hand them over. And it doesn't take much for me to lose that sense of trust and say, nope, you're a tard. Nope, not handing any reins over. Like the idea of being submissive, I'm happy to do it. I would love to just hand the fucking reins over and say, I don't want to deal with it anymore. It's all on you. You just tell me where to go, what to do. I'll show up, make you dinner, and call it a day. But I can't do that if I can't trust that you will do it better than me, 100 times better than me.
Which is
the hard way.
I agree with what Sarah's saying, but also like and even some of what Ivan was saying, frankly. But like I guess like I'm a little confused about why this particular part of the conversation is so gendered, because it feels like relationships in general, whether it's a man and a woman or a boss and an employee, and either both directions, those relationships are fundamentally built on trust and trust and competence specifically. So I guess it's weird the angle that these topics have been presented. So I guess if anyone wants to give like a justification for why it's specifically like, women need to trust their man, or rather than, relationships need to be built on trust between two individuals. Like
I don't agree with that at all.
This framing, like why is my framing inferior perhaps from your perspective?
Because it doesn't account for the inherent imbalances in power and responsibility. So like I think that what the position you're coming from is inherently egalitarian, in that it presupposes that women and men are fundamentally equal in terms of power and responsibility.
To be clear, I don't believe men and women are equal. That's just
okay. No, but I'm saying in terms of let's say responsibility within a relationship, at least the position I come from is Orthodox Christianity. Orthodox Christianity is very patriarchal, and it's patriarchal all the way down, from the church to the state to marriages and the family unit. So the idea there is that it's not, you don't have the same responsibility as a woman within the marriage as the man does. Okay, and this is now
according to your religion. You're saying specifically, but I don't. And frankly, I don't give a shit, right, about that dynamic. So, like in general, if we're talking to people who aren't like Orthodox Christians or whatever, and don't care about what the creator of the universe thinks about their relationship, is there any other reason to follow like your framing? Or
I mean, personally, you guys, I would actually let the women answer this question, not Ivan. I mean, this is the women's panel, and I think this is a question for the women, because Ryan's saying, why does this exist? And the women can answer it the best.
And can I first take a brief grift break, just so the chat knows? You are currently sitting at 3 out of 10 dono goals to continue the show. And you all know if you don't meet the dono goal, I shut it down and we go home. Or I put a very large dono goal to meet on and with a very fast timer on it. So I highly recommend if you're watching and you're enjoying watching the show, please continue to insert coin to continue show. You have less than 20 minutes to do it. Ladies, to you. And maybe Ryan, can you ask the question one more time? Because I was a little distracted.
Yeah, sure. Well, so I guess the conversation leading up to when I started talking, I think like we were talking about kind of dynamics in relationships and also dynamics between, you know, authority figures like employees and employees and bosses. And the framing was always about, employees need to trust their boss and women need to trust their husbands. You know, women need to trust men. And I found it strange. Like there are certainly things that are going to be more common for men to be dependable on, things that are more common for bosses to be dependable on. But fundamentally, all of these relationships are built on trust. Like an employee has to trust their boss to assign them like work they can do, and the boss has to trust that their employee is going to get that work done, and the women have to trust that their husband's going to be able to take care of the things the husband's taking care of, and the husband has to trust that the wife is going to take care of the things she's going to take care of. And I don't see why it's framed in a very feels like a one-dimensional way. And then, you know, Ivan's explanation was, well, I'm an Orthodox Christian, and I'm like, well, yeah, but obviously a lot of people just don't give a shit about that. Like, we don't think the creator of the universe is influencing this, how we frame this. So like for other people, I guess I'm curious why we'd frame it one way and not like just talking about like how these relationships depend on trust in general.
Right. Can I jump in? I'm
Sure,
going to
go ahead,
jump in
Paula.
here because it's nearly 2 o'clock in the morning here, so I'm going to jump in off shortly anyway. But what I will say is, I think a lot of the trust issues in women come to the fact that not all men, but most men just abuse women. And the ones that don't abuse women don't actually call out the men that do.
I don't know that I agree with that. I know very, very few abusive men. I mean, it's not that they don't exist; they're there, but I don't think men are just monsters that are victimizing women for the most part.
No, I
And
don't.
in
Yeah, I
fact,
wouldn't
they all
agree.
I don't think they all are, but also an abusive man isn't going to advertise that he's an abusive man.
No,
But now you also got to
Everybody's
consider we're from
abusive.
two different places.
Everybody's
cultures.
abusive. Your
What might
politicians
be
are
happening where you live in Scotland, and not necessarily what goes on in the States.
Yeah.
So it's not something that maybe we're not as privy to as you are. So things are a little bit different over here, in my opinion. So
Ryan.
I think
I want to make sure the ladies are fully complete on Mrs. Balderson. Did you have anything else to add to that thought?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that Ryan's right. The trust has to go both ways. I mean, otherwise you're not in a relationship. I don't know what kind of toxic thing that would be. But I do think that women and men have to trust each other in very, very different ways. Before I met Ben, I never ever felt like I needed a husband to keep me safe. But now that I have a husband who is incredibly protective and who I always feel safe with, I can tell you that makes a huge difference. And we live a life very, very different from most people. We don't live in the city where you call the cops and they're here in 5 minutes if they're a problem. We live 2 hours from town. We live on a crazy mountain and we're having mudslides and flooding and storms right now. If something goes wrong, my husband goes out and he fixes it. He was out for hours and hours and hours clearing culverts to make sure that our driveway didn't wash away. I know that my husband is going to keep me safe. And I know that I love and respect that so much that I will do whatever it takes to make him happy and to make him feel appreciated for being that man to me. I know that I am precious to him and he's the pit bull standing behind me. Nobody better mess with me. I pity the fool. I really, really do. And it feels good to be in a relationship where I know that he has my back, but I also know better than to act out because I'm not going to put him in a bad situation where he has to defend me over bad behavior.
That's very, I love, God, why aren't you up here more often, Mrs. Balderson? This is brilliant. Tootie, I want to hand it over to you for any thoughts on the matter before we hand it back to the gentleman.
no, I think we're cruising along pretty well. Just, yes, it's equal that you have to have trust in each other, but when it comes down into a marriage, a woman needs to have more trust in the man because the man is the one that's ultimately supposed to be the one protecting. It's like, so would you choose? What would you rather have? A man that's, suit and tie type of guy making, $1 million a year or whatnot, but he can't change a fucking tire?
Well, he can pay someone to do it in a
That's
moment.
the thing, because it's like out where Mrs. Balderson lives. AAA is going to take a few hours.
You
If they even say
they're not coming.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I would much rather have the guy that's if shit goes down, that suit and tie ain't going to mean shit.
Right. Well,
I don't
was
think
gonna
they're
say, I
exclusive,
wanted to add
though.
though real quickly when you said men don't have to trust women the same way. I kind of disagree, especially in a more traditional marriage where the woman is at home with the kids. You have to trust that your woman is a woman of character who is going to be taking care of those kids and raising them according to your beliefs, your standards, your morals. You have to trust that she is on board, that she has your back, and that she's a representative of what you expect in your household. So that's a big trust, that your kids are going to turn out well because you're trusting this woman to raise your children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely agree. But that's where the power differences come to shine. Because, like, if you're an employer, you're trusting your employee to do their job competently. But if they do their job incompetently, you're gonna lose a little bit of money. But on the flip side, if you're an incompetent employee, or let's say you're an employee and your boss is not happy with you, you might lose your livelihood. So who's really more at risk? The imbalance in risk tilts things in favor of the employer, okay, not the employee. The employee has the most to lose. He's in a more precarious situation socially, financially, economically, and that is the same case for women in terms of, for example, being vulnerable, not only physically but also when they're pregnant. Like, women have a higher risk. Like, for a woman to be married, her choice of mate is way higher of a risk than a man's choice. So that's why traditional societies had the parents of the woman bet the man to see if that would be a man of character. And the reason why dowries were paid, because it changed throughout the ages, was to secure a good husband, to give an incentive to secure a good husband for their daughter. So what they're doing with the dowry is saying, okay, I'm going to set this aside so that the good character guy, the high status guy who has a, let's say, because he's high status, he might have an incentive to even act a certain way. That's the concept of nobility. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to secure a high status guy who had a stake in society functioning. So women have been and will always be structurally in a more precarious situation in the sexual marketplace, and no amount of technology or economic security will ever change that. And we're going towards a society that tells you, oh no, you can just have the police, we can have the state take care of what men used to do. And it's not working, and it will never truly work. And the farther you go from the technocracy that we're living under, the more you realize why society has been the way it's been for all of human history.
I'm not sure if it will never work. We could just be in a disruptive period where it's half one way and half the other way. So, like, we're not fully reached to what values of a good male in that society would be, right? So, like, it hasn't totally been figured out in amongst, like, the female sphere, right? So, like, because we're only in, like, the halfway point to where, like, you know, maybe it could work, right? Maybe it could work in a sense that people become smarter, people are focused on different things. We don't need the brute force protector because there's these other things in place. So people would maybe gravitate towards the hyper intelligent person.
Well, I kind of agree. I kind of agree with what you're saying, but also, I just want to say, I mean, up until the end, maybe, and we could have a discussion about some of that. But like, I think most of what Ivan said was actually a pretty good answer to my question. Right? It was kind of a secular, practical-oriented approach to why, women are inclined to be more selective in the dating market. And I think it's reasonable. I think it's like it's a good example of why women might need to have potentially more trust, especially in specific situations like pregnancy, or if they're hyper dependent on a man, they're not working on their own. They're like, if they're extremely financially dependent on the man, and which women are more likely to be than the other way around, right? So I think it's a good like practical answer to the question. The only thing I would encourage everyone, like when having that conversation, is just think about the trust, how it goes both ways, and how it in different contexts. But I think Ivan, frankly, it was a pretty good answer to my question. So.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we look at like Jewish cultures, that would be kind of an example of what Ivan is pointing to, where people aren't having to lift as many fingers, and those cultures, they end up having like match-made relationships where it's not the woman choosing at all. It's elders in the society that are choosing, because women probably aren't that great at making decisions in the first place, and if they were, they would be playing chess at a higher level. They would be able to play games at a higher level. But like the reality is,
I'm sorry, guys. I got to drop. I do just want to steel man a quick second. I actually opened up the panel to Ryan's question to the women. I think the women gave a pretty good answer, and it was that if a man can gain their trust, then that woman will. And I'm steel manning. You guys can debate me if I'm steel manning this wrong. But if a man can gain your trust, you will trust them, and you will serve them just as much as they served you to gain that trust. And I think all the men that just answered you guys totally ignored your questions. So
that's why I get so mad.
Hold on. He's exiting. Stop. He's exiting. Vibe's exiting. Let him finish.
No, that's it. I mean, come see me. Sorry to steel man the women, but really sad to see the men didn't actually listen. So
no way.
Okay, be sad.
Thanks for joining tonight, Vibe. I appreciate you stopping by.
Bye.
And I just want to do some super chat call outs while we have a moment. Tiny Lucy sends in the Big 10 and says, Mrs. Balderson, hello to you. Crawl Rust sends in another 10 to help support the dono goal and says, keep a yapping. This is a ladies only panel tonight. Everybody's yapping and not listening. Nuke says the only boon, I don't know what boon is, but maybe it meant one. I don't know. But thank you, Nuke, to help keep it going. And Lobster says team bros. Bros before hoes, bro. We love it, Lobster. Thank you so kindly. And also, I just want to say that Jason has completed the goal on your behalf behind the scenes on the Buy Me a Coffee app with the leftover dono goal. So the show shall continue. Don't fuck up. You have another hour to continue sending in more. So
thank you for donating, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I just want to say to Vibe's credit, I understand why I think that certainly applies maybe to Ivan and Raleigh there. But I mean, it's true. I also didn't respond directly to what 2D Balderson were saying, but it's because I was sitting there nodding along and agreeing with everything they were saying. I think they were backing up my point, right? That that trust needs to go both ways. And so I do think they were addressing the issue very well. I just thought I was contrasting Ivan's more recent answer with his earlier answer, which was just like, I'm an Orthodox Christian. This is what they believe, and to his more practical approach later on. So, yeah.
And I just want to point out that Jason did mention in his Bible, I forgot to read it, but he said, Ryan hasn't spurged yet, so why not? Let's keep it going. So congratulations, Ryan. You helped save the show by not spurging.
Well,
Go ahead.
I may address the criticism first, like I wanted to say, I think it's kind of weak to say, okay, women will trust the men if the men are competent, because that would imply that women are perfectly loyal when they decide to trust a man. Okay, women's faith in men falters. Okay, and especially if men who were at one point solid start to falter themselves, it's logical that their faith in their man also changes. But also, it implies that women somehow can pick the right men perfectly, which is, I think, something that nobody expected in any society at any point in history. My point in regards to what Ryan was saying before is that, and what Raleigh was saying before, is like no society has ever had the fantasy of having the state be inside of your own home, and that's why trust has always been important. It's like when you marry a guy, you're a woman, you marry a guy, you're going to be behind closed doors with a person who's physically stronger than you. It's like a lot of things could happen. Like for society to allow that to happen implies trust in that man. And what we're going towards right now is it's a technocratic society of individualists who actually call on for the state to regulate all of their interactions. So you have people who are talking about freedom while at the same time they want to have robo-cops inside their own homes to police their own behavior and maybe use it against each other. So what I'm trying to say is that what Raleigh is saying actually pushes like the idea that there is, or what Ryan is saying, that there isn't, let's say, a fundamental structure, a metaphysical structure to reality that prevents those things from happening, implies that we're going to go into a future of technocratic control where the state is inside your home and there is no trust and there is no possibility for trust because the individuals within that society have given over their trust over to the government to police all of their behavior without there actually ever being real trust between partners.
And we can exchange the word trust for authority, because I think authority plays such a bigger part in these dynamics, especially what Ryan was saying with the boss and employee relationship. It's not necessarily about trust for the most part. It's about authority, especially for the boss. If the boss doesn't have the authority, then they have no control.
So how does that play in when you were just saying dudes shouldn't duke it out?
I didn't say dudes shouldn't duke it out.
I totally misunderstood you. Can you please clarify what you said? Because I about flipped out of my chair on that one.
Mrs.
What were you
Balderson
referring
needs to
to?
come here every night. Oh my God, I love her.
What were you referring to?
I got lost because you kept going tangential on your conversation, but you were talking about how women shouldn't have to trust in men because they're protective and they're like duking things out. And I completely disagree, because I think men, no matter what, if you get a group of men, they're sizing each other up, and it may not always come to fisticuffs, but sometimes it does. But men, there is a hierarchy in every group. There always will be. And I think men stopped being good men when the threat of getting punched in the mouth for acting like an asshole went away.
Yeah, the hierarchy doesn't just go in terms of muscle, though, too. It goes in terms of like what you know a lot of times. I think that goes a lot longer way in today's society, what you know, especially amongst other men, right? Like a man with strength, they'll be afraid of the person that can make them look like a fool when they open their mouth.
You should only be afraid of looking like a fool because you don't question your own beliefs. I mean,
Hold on. Did it turn any of the ladies on? I'm real quick, I'm just making jokes. Did it turn any of the ladies on when this guy threatened to fight me? Yes or no?
Turned me on.
There you go.
I didn't threaten to fight you. I said, any competition you want, I'll beat you.
That's fair. I was just going to defend
Jake Paul. You got my
I'll defend the position. I
got busted up.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, just real quick. I'll just briefly put a stake in the ground that I think people should be, and unless the situation calls for it because of like self-defense or whatever. Like I think in general, people should be a little bit less eager to throw hands. I mean, fights, while they can be satisfying and feel good in the moment, they often end with people being very seriously injured to the point of sometimes death. A good punch can kill somebody. I understand it's the point, and that's why I think think that people should recognize. And also, it's advice for other people who might, act out around people who might decide to punch them, to consider your actions as well, because you might end up dying. I think people should not downplay the gravitas of getting into a physical fight with someone who's very strong. And I think violence is valuable and in many situations, but I think we should not treat it so carelessly.
I'm not
Have you ever
trying
been
to
in a
be
fight,
a
Ryan?
proponent of men just
I was
I
just
sure
gonna
have.
ask that
all
too.
the time. I'm trying to be a proponent of
Hold on. Go ahead, Mrs.
I'm not
Balderson.
trying to be a proponent of men just going out and getting in fights for no good reason, but I am saying that men used to keep each other in line. And
Are you
sometimes
from?
physical pain is the only thing that people respond to. That's why parents spank their children. Like, you run out in front of a car, you spank your kid, not because you want to hurt your child, but because you want to set the tone that, hey, pay attention. This could kill you. This is bigger than just this little inconvenience of me spanking your butt. This is saving your life. And I think that we have lost decorum because we have taken minuscule violence out of the picture. We focus on the wrong things. And I think one of the things that we also overlook is the fact that there are amazing cops out there. Do not get me wrong. There are amazing cops out there, but there are so many cops out there that are power hungry. They don't understand the amendments of the Constitution. They don't understand the law that they're enforcing. And you're just as likely to get hurt sometimes when the cops show up.
Did those cops turn you on sexually?
Spicoli, you always make it fucking weird. Shout out to Miss Jen, says, can we kick Raleigh off? And Mrs. Balderson, I love you and need to know your cat's name.
There are so many that I don't think I know the name of this particular cat. That is Cutie. And that is one of the many machismos that all look the same, and there's a bunch of boys, so they're all machismo because their mom is matcha. So the boys are machismo.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And then we have a bunch of black cats that all have the same name, and we have,
That's
it's
fair.
weird.
Raleigh, I'm gonna set a 10-minute timer for you, and unless somebody else pops up in first to take that seat, then you'll have to wait back in line. Okay, my apologies. Spicoli, you made it fucking weird. Can you keep it on topic, please?
What's the topic?
Oh, Jesus, Spicoli.
Well, before we explain Spicoli, the conversation's been going on. I guess I'd also put a little pushback. I think there might be a time and place for a good a kind of spanking or something, some sort of physical punishment, obviously. But I think it is something that probably should be pretty rare, and the data as over the last 20 years or so has been increasingly showing that there's a lot of really negative outcomes that come from this sort of punishment. And also, just if you think about it intuitively, right, if you're a child and you don't with the car example, right, the child, when you pull them away from the car and you smack them, they're not learning cars are dangerous, that I don't want to get hurt from the car. What they're learning is, when I do something Mom doesn't like, I'm gonna get slapped, right? And which is a little bit of a different lesson. And I think we have to understand, in that child's mind, it's a very different thing. And again, that data that shows all these other negative outcomes. I think people should be cautious with how we glamorize violence, especially against our children who are very, very influenced by their surroundings.
Would you rather, in order for the child to learn the lesson that running into roads where cars are, would you rather them learn the lesson by just getting hit by the car? Would that teach them the lesson better, Ryan?
Yeah. Well, come on, Sarah. That's obviously not what I'm arguing, right? I'm saying that the smack is maybe unnecessary, and there's other kinds of feedback that could be given in that situation. Not saying let them get hit by a fucking car. Come on.
More than likely, though, hold on just a second. More than likely, the parent already said, "Hold my hand and stay with me. There's cars going." So what the child did in that moment, in order to receive the spanking, went against mom or dad. I love how we just assume it's mom beating her children, but mom or dad says, don't run into traffic. It's a doggy. Don't run out in the street. There's cars coming. Hold my hand and stay with me. Child doesn't listen to mom. Now child puts self in danger, right? Yeah. So you have to, I gave you a command, you disobeyed the command and put yourself at risk. We can apply that later on hold on, Spicoli. We can apply that later on in a bigger context, okay? I say, don't drink alcohol to my 16-year-old child, right? Child disobeys and I say, don't drink alcohol because bad things can happen. You can get sick or other bad things could happen. We don't have to go there, right?
Are you rubbing one out right now?
And then child.
Sound like you're rubbing one out, bro.
He's not. He's just muffled. Then child disobeys me. Bad thing happen, and it's like if they had felt the brunt of what happens when like when you didn't listen to me before, you got a spanking. There was a consequence because little children don't understand consequences. If I sit and I explain to a 4-year-old, we don't run out in front of cars because of X, Y, Z, and you could get hurt and die and things, and that they don't. It doesn't comprehend the same way.
I agree.
Okay, a little, and I'll also clarify: you're not beating your child to a pulp. It's a little spanking on the butt. I could probably do it to you, and you'd probably be like, "Well, that wasn't a big deal." It's a wake up call. It's not. You're not beating them.
Like the painful
you said you were not dating.
Such as their attention.
Ryan would ask for more.
Too many people talking.
I didn't hear anyone. Let's start with Tootie. Tootie, ladies have priority tonight. Tootie, you said something. Go ahead.
Said it's for a painful shock value to get their attention, and it's needed in that moment. Unless you've been a parent and experienced your child running out into a damn street and the fear that it places over about what's going to happen, don't make comments like that until you've been put in that situation because you really don't know. So
okay, so again, I mean, well, what you're doing right there, frankly, is you're describing an emotional reaction that you're feeling, and I understand it's an emotional reaction, but that's you having very strong emotions about your child running out into the street does not justify whatever reaction
you were a
you
parent
have.
of a small child, and this happened to you.
Yeah.
I guarantee you're going to want to put some kind of shock to his ass.
I understand. Again, I agree. I agree with the emotional. I agree with that. I acknowledge that. I certainly would feel that. I feel some fraction of that, at least, when my dog runs out in the street, right? Because he's a little idiot and doesn't comprehend that cars are dangerous. I hear where you're coming from. But I think that there are other kinds of reactions. Like, let's say, for example, most kids walk around. They probably have, a favorite toy or a blanket or whatever. You can take something away as a negative reinforcement to demonstrate, hey, you just did something that I'm disapproving of.
Right now.
Mrs. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Mrs. Balderson also wanted to chime in. I saw you raised your hand. I want to give her the moment.
Yeah.
I didn't see her. She's shadowed.
Oh, that's okay. Ben took the flashlight away. A couple things. First of all, trauma. That word is something that we study.
Spicoli, stop.
Traumatizing. There is no way around it. You will be traumatized, and people's threshold for trauma is totally different. I could never have made it through half the things that my husband has made it through. I lived such an easy life. And the sad thing about living such an easy life where I never suffered any pain and I never suffered any hardship is that when I do now, my bar is set so low, it's way more painful to experience those things than it would have been if I grew up learning how to handle things. And I think that we're taking away the ability for people to learn by consequences. When we're focusing all the time on their trauma and their feelings, we're not teaching them to be logical. We're not teaching them how to work through things. We're just teaching them that they're damaged goods and that gives them an excuse and they never have to get better. And I if you look at lessons through.
Spicoli, shut up.
Spicoli, hold on. Pardon me, panel. I apologize. Spicoli, because you're on your phone thing, when you do these little, it actually mutes out the whole panel and we can't hear what the actual person is saying. This is why, like, Ivan was doing like the little hand signals. I agree, this is good, but he wasn't interrupting and saying anything. He's doing head nods and things like that. You unfortunately are not cammed up, but we don't give a fuck if you want to, okay? We actually want to give the ladies the floor or the gentleman the floor to say what they need to say. And then if you want to say, yes, I agree with that, and here's why, that's meaningful content. However, the ohs are just muting out the panel and we can't hear the actual good shit. So mute your mic and you can to yourself and then wait your turn. Thank you. Mrs. Balderson, if you had anything else to add to that, my apologies.
So nature teaches lessons through physicality, and we are animals. We're higher animals. We have the capacity for thought. But little kids, little puppies, little kittens, little alpacas, little cows, little pigs, they all learn lessons by establishing dominance. They learn the lessons when another dog or another pig or another cow says that's too much. And they do something physical to make sure that that animal understands that's not acceptable. People interact that way too. And then we have the added level of our brains where we can explain why we're doing what we're doing after the fact. But sometimes those lessons have to be physical, especially for little boys. If you watch little boys play, they're not playing gently with dolls. They are beating each other up. They're rough and tumble. They're jumping off of the roof. They're playing in the mud up, this deep. They're not being gentle ginger. They're learning through their tactile senses, through their physicality. They need to understand their spatial awareness in the world. Little girls need that too, but boys especially, if you take away their ability to learn the limits of how to be physical, because they have to learn when too much is applied. They might need to learn that they're not very strong, and they need to learn to be a better advocate and a better, a go-between between two parties. Somebody who can talk their way
mediator.
out of it. Thank you, a mediator. You learn different skills from being in conflict, and when you avoid conflict, you get weak. And do I want people beating each other up all the time? Hell no, I do not. But I don't want to see people not. We can't rely on some third party, especially where I live. I can't rely on a third party to solve some physical problem. If someone comes here causing violence, we have to handle it. The cops aren't coming.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel like we've jumped all over the place, kind of like, and like we're talking about like a bunch of different threads here now. When the specific situation was just like this kid running out into the street when he's been told not to. Like, I mean, like the number one immediate reaction that does stop this and does reinforce like a negative connotation is literally grabbing them and pulling them away from the street, and then like not letting them walk for that moment, like until it'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to carry you now, like, or you don't get to roam freely, whatever. Like that in and of itself is a negative consequence. And I do acknowledge that the smack or whatever and lighter, probably lighter is more preferable. But like I acknowledge that the smack could be necessary in some of these cases. But I think when you pair that with downplaying the impacts of regular violence as a response to negative behaviors, I think like the way you talked about trauma right now, I found absolutely completely disagreeable. Like the idea that in therapy people are learning that oh you have trauma and you're broken, we can't fix you. That's the opposite of what people talk about in any good therapy session. It's literally the opposite. It's like, this may be what you've gone through. That doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want. But also it means that you're not broken. It means that you went through this thing, and that might have had some influence on these certain actions, but there are still ways that you can like learn to do better and be better. And that's what people would actually be learning in therapy. And again, lastly, like just acknowledging that trauma is a side effect of this kind of reaction as like a regular consequence for undesirable behavior. I think it's a bad idea to like pretend that's not part of the conversation. Like, even if you agree that there's just no other way, then you have to accept that like what you are doing is saying, well, there's no other way, so I am going to have to impart this trauma, and that's just the way it is, which is an argument that we can have, right? But downplaying it, I think kind of absolves yourself from the latter part of that, which I don't think is fair to do.
So, but do you think that if my son at 4 years old, let's say, had done that and I spanked him, do you think that at 30 he's going to remember the trauma of me spanking him because he ran in front of a car? Do you think he's even going to remember it at all? Or do you think that in the moment it was a physical jolt to get their attention and to get them to pay attention real quick? Because, I mean, what do people used to do when somebody was going crazy? They'd smack him in the face. And that smacking in the face is that, oh, okay, I don't need to panic anymore. And it's kind of the like you're making a really quick statement. You're not hurting them. You're not physically hitting them so hard that they're in pain. It's a, whoa, hello, wake up. Be present in the moment. And
I want to. Oh, go ahead.
Someone else has said a lot, but I just want to say it's less likely that he's going to remember that specific instance as much as he's going to remember a pattern of violence being the response to him doing things that are undesirable, which I think is a foundation for your relationship with your children. Yeah.
They
Go
will
ahead, Tootie.
cry from the fear, not from the pain.
Yeah.
That fear gets them in that moment like that.
I'll even say, and then I'll hand it to Ivan. I remember the first time my daughter, she had her marker and she started to draw. She was like 2 or 3, and she tried to draw on the wall with it. And I gave her a countdown, and I said, get away from the wall. You're not going to draw on the wall. And she like looked at me and gave me that like shit-eating grin, like, yes, the fuck I am. And I started a countdown. I said 3, 2, 1, and then she got a little butt spanking. I took the marker, and then you tell her, like, we don't color on walls, XYZ, blah, 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 blah. Well, the best part is for the rest of her life, I never had to spank her again. All I had to do was say 3. And whatever it was, she was like, nope. It took that one moment to teach that we're not going to fuck around and find out at this point. Right now, if it like obviously a car like running in the road, that's an instant moment. There is no 3, 2, 1. But the pattern to be taught is I make a command and you listen, right? And as long as you're going and listening, then there is no. That's the pattern. Is I listen to the authority of my parents. They rule the roost, right? Now, if you're just beating your child for nothing, that is abuse. Nobody puts any type of stamp of approval on that, and I don't believe anybody here on panel would. And if that you do, then please exit. But
yeah, you might be surprised, but it's more common than you think that people think not just a light smack, but like a period of time where the response to bad behavior is okay. Well, now you're going to get a spanking, and it's a session. It's not like a moment. It's not like a quick smack. It's rather I'm going to hit you with the belt. I'm going to smack your butt with a spoon or something, right? Like this is extremely common in American culture. But
as a child in the 70s and 80s. Oh my God!
What? I'm describing for the record what I just described as my own experience as a child. I'm not giving like I'm describing what I went through, right? Like specific, like with the belt, the spoons, etc. Like that's how I was spanked, and it didn't teach me to respect the authority.
They didn't spank you hard enough. I can't. I'm sorry. I don't mean to poke at your trauma.
Yeah, no, I mean, like whatever. It's, but like the lesson I think I take away is, that didn't teach me to respect the authority of my parents. I learned that later through my brain growing and me understanding more about the world and more about my parents and learning to respect them as individuals, right, and as my parents. But in the moment, it made me afraid, right? It made me afraid of seeing them or them like catching me do something wrong, right? But I think the pattern of fear that you're describing, I think the pattern of fear itself can be a good thing, but I'm not convinced that the spanking, etc., is like the only way to establish that. And I guess what I'm challenging is like, what are other ways that we can give people negative consequences, give children negative consequences for if they're coloring on the wall? I mean, this is a child doesn't understand that coloring on the wall is a bad thing. Okay, no more crayons. Now you can't color on the wall, and you don't get to play with the crayons anymore, right? That's a negative thing. They're going to associate that. They're not going to forget, oh, my crayons got taken away, right? It feels like we're jumping straight to the smack as like the only possible solution. That's just, I think that's it's kind of like lazy,
It's not lazy, Ryan. It's literally the only way you can communicate sometimes with a child who has a vocabulary that's maybe in the double digits. You're not talking about causing actual harm to the child, right? Just enough pain to get their attention, right? Does not have to be this prolonged period of physical violence that causes harm. That's not the purpose. The purpose is just to get their attention, cause a little bit of pain so that it's reinforcing the memory not to do this thing. And it takes no words.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm not going to get into my personal stuff, but what you're describing seems like abuse rather than correction. right? Because I've seen it from like I don't want to get into it, but one of my very first memories, and I talked to my father about this at 15 after not talking to him for more than a decade, right? They were separated. So, and I brought it up to him and I said, so do you remember the time that you held me upside down by my feet and I was like 3 or 4 years old and beat me with the belt? And the reason was because I was trying to call my grandmother who lived up the street because my mother and father got into a fight and he punched her in the face a few times, right? So, and then he held me upside down and beat me. Now that was abuse. But, you know, when I got caught smoking and my mother hit me with the spoon a couple times, made me smoke half pack of cigarettes, made me sick or whatever, that wasn't abuse. She didn't make, like he described, like this ceremony of beating him or whatever. That wasn't what my mother did. She smacked me a couple times with the spoon, make me cry. Wasn't a big deal. What my father did was severe abuse. Like he hit me with the belt a lot. I remember it, from 45 years ago. So, I'm sorry that happened to you, bro.
Yeah, I mean, so I've long since forgiven my parents for that. I mean, they thought they were doing the kind of corrective behavior that you guys are describing here, right? Like in their hearts, they didn't think they were doing something that would have like in the future, things for me to untangle, right? But I think that is the reality. And again, like to what God's favorite Ant was saying, I mean, I literally gave a specific example that you don't have to use words to communicate. They no longer have the crayons that they were playing with, right? That's something losing the crayons is the negative consequence, and they're not going to forget about that. Like they're going to
Miss Alderson, are you leaving?
Yeah, I have to step out for a minute. I need to make dinner, so Ben's going to.
Yeah, but Ryan. When I let, sorry,
we'll hand it over to Ivan. I think Ivan has been waiting very patiently to chime in on it.
Well,
can I say something real quick in response to Ryan?
No, you're gonna wait.
10. All right.
I think that Ryan is raising up an interesting concern in terms of let's say what is called violence and what is not called violence. I take the interpretation that violence is actually the use of force. It's not physical use of force necessarily in terms of damaging another person, but what the example that he gave about taking the crayons from the kid is actually a violent action in the sense of like, I'm forcibly removing a privilege that you had. Okay, I'm removing those from you. And who's to say, like, even in that example, I could try to rationalize and say, actually taking the crayons from your kid is more violent than lightly tapping their hands, right? Because like now you've taken from them an educational tool. Okay, instead of if you tap their hands, like kids, they sometimes get scared and they think that they've been hurt. Like I work with children. I know different ages, their developmental stages. Like very young children, like just the mimicry of you punishing them physically is enough for them to feel shame and to think that they've been physically hurt. Okay, so the question is not whether you're using force, whether you're being violent in a sense. The question is whether that violence that you're applying, that force that you're applying, is fit for the context that you're applying it in. It's not the same if a 4-year-old does something than if a 15-year-old does something, not just because of their communicational abilities, but rather because of the context itself. So justice is contextual, and you're saying, okay, but these people are justifying violence very easily. And I'm saying, no. Violence is structural. The moment that you're saying taking the crayons is not violent, then you're starting to get the conversation into a loop that is never solved because you're putting, let's say, physical harm on a pedestal. And I would say to you, I think that the ladies were right when they were talking about physical harm. I think that what you were saying, Ryan, in terms of like, yes, a lot of people are too primitive about it is also correct. But the question then is not whether or not people apply their authority and their power incorrectly, because we know they do. The question is whether you're willing to live in a world where that's the case. And I think that most people here, whether they're Christian or not, are going to say that's the world you're living in, whether you want it or not. And I was thinking that what Miss Balderson was saying was actually a defense for the fact that there is nothing you can do to perfect the world to the point that there will not be any kind of abuses in that sense. So my my proposition to you and to the panel would be, what about, let's say, forgiving abuses of power? I'm not saying gross abuses of power. I'm not saying forgive everything. What I'm simply saying is, okay, you're going to have a bad boss. Deal with it. Everybody has, okay? It's like your parents are going to fail you. But that doesn't mean that because parents are going to fail, because employers are going to fail, because politicians are going to fail, that somehow all of society has to be chucked out of the window and we're all going to have to be our own, let's say, anarchic heroes to pull ourselves by our bootstraps because we can no longer trust anybody to do anything. And I think
Ivan, I kind of think I kind of think a little bit so like I agree that violence can be structural. I think that's a really cool conversation, but like when someone like me who thinks that any application of force is violence, and I think even more can be construed as violence, there's a really good reason for that. There's a good reason for that, and it's because there's really no such thing as like a harmless application of force or harmless coercion, harmless violence.
Harmless force of application. Incredibly harmless. Go ahead, Doc. I apologize. I had to prove a point, and then I do have a super chat with a question for Ryan after you, Doc. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I'll shut up after this. But yeah, I mean, and so like if violence is structural, but like why can't I say that, kind of that idea that if someone were to give birth to the biggest polar bear that ever existed, that's going to be a violent polar bear. And so all humans are the same. All humans are the same, and it doesn't serve anyone to lie about what violence is.
I don't know. It's stuck. It's stuck. All right, we'll move on. Fourth Wiseman says, Ryan, can you answer the above question I posted in the chat? And I had to go find it, but I found it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Thank you for making that easy. Ryan, question, a hypothetical. Your child is drawing on usual paper, etc., then walks around the house drawing all over doors, walls, hallway, revamped, etc., into a mess. What do you do, Sarah? Ask him. Ask him. Ryan, what do you do?
Well, number one, I am going to take away those things, right? I'm going to take away those the crayons. I'm going to take away the paper. I'm probably also going to scold them, right? I might even raise my voice. Personally, I don't know that might be whether that's the best thing to do or not. I think about it more, but I probably would. So those are like the first two reactions. I don't think the reaction would be to smack them. I think that I just don't see that as necessarily being the corrective measure here. And to address like what Ivan was saying, and like it seems like a lot of very all or nothing stuff. I'm willing, like Duck said, I'm willing to have conversations about how the umbrella of violence can include things like taking away a child's crayons. I can totally buy into that. But I mean, I'm not asking to eradicate the world of violence or any sort of like authority stuff. Like, I'm not trying to make a perfect world. I'm literally just saying, like, hey guys, like maybe in the moment when we're raising children, that there's going to be situations where we might feel inclined to do a quick, easy smack or something to assert that they did something wrong, and that maybe if we took a step back, we might find that there are other ways to address the situation that are more productive and don't come with starting to create a potential pattern that they are going to have to unpack later down the road, and that might be healthier for them. That's what I'm saying.
So I want to ask you, Ryan. I'll let you go after this. I want to ask you, Ryan, because you mentioned I might scold him, I might yell. Yelling at people could also be a traumatizing factor, right? If you develop a pattern of yelling and all of that fun stuff, like, do you still stand in that place for yelling versus? Because sometimes, like loud voices scare me. I get really nervous when I hear them. But I'm a little person, so when people are yelling, I know something's probably wrong, and I shouldn't be there because bad things usually happen when people yell. But like, how do you differentiate at that point between, is yelling worse than just a quick smack on the butt, or I mean, how do you know it's even going to be traumatizing?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting question, but I'll point back to when I was answering it, right? I said I would, like, I was kind of describing, like, emotionally, I would probably raise my voice, but I also added the caveat that, like, if I thought about this more, maybe I might try to have some self-control in that as well. Like, I'd have to think about it more, I think were my exact words. And that for exactly some of the reasons you said, that, like, a pattern of raising, which I frankly, I do when I am frustrated, I do tend to I do try not to raise my voice, except for maybe on these panels. But like in interpersonal conflict, I know that's funny to you guys, but like when it comes to interpersonal conflict, when I'm really upset with someone, I don't usually yell at them, and it's something I did when I was younger. That I actively, it's not part of my kind of patterns anymore. In those sorts of conflicts, so I do think that there are again consequences that could come from a pattern of yelling as a response to these things, and that there might be better ways to handle it. Scolding doesn't necessarily have to be a screaming match. It can be an expression of disapproval through a variety of mechanisms. And again, I think children are sponges, and there's a lot of very subtle ways that we can interact with them that will cause these sort of impacts, like positive or negative. And that's what I'm asking people to consider.
So that's where I want to follow up. So when it comes to, obviously you want to be able to talk it out with your children, and then obviously you want to be able to, if necessary, use controlled violence, and that's what modulation is. And so when we're talking about like screaming and that sort of thing, if mom and dad get in a screaming match, the child's already terrified. But then if he does something wrong and then mom or dad comes in screaming and yelling, he doesn't really understand what's going on. But even going on further to that, if they come to him even after they've been in a screaming match and now they're calm and they're talking to him in a rational tone, but then they're also telling him in this, look, you did something wrong and we're going to have to talk about this, but it's also going to end with a spanking. And then they take you into the bedroom and then you get the belt. 3-4 lashes, whatever it is. This is called modulation, right? And a controlled person can handle these things. It's not abuse. It's not abuse whenever it's proper discipline. The word discipline, right? So, and actually, I love that this topic is here because it was actually one of the topics that I put it into the list of topics. So I'm really happy that this is being discussed.
It evolved naturally, didn't it?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
guess-
actually haven't had to refer to the grab bag because it's naturally shifting. So I'm going to let it roll for now until it becomes stagnant. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like to Clay,
I would like
just
to know why you
between-
think kids would get a negative pattern out of spankings or out of scoldings, but all the other negative things that you're willing to do, apparently they won't pick up a pattern with that you are like, they're just going to associate it to spankings. Well, what if you decide that grounding to their room is your thing? Well, maybe that child, just like you insinuated, would only draw that over to, my parents are assholes, they hit me. My parents are assholes, they make me sit in my room by myself. Like, I don't understand.
But Ben, you're biting. You're biting.
Doc, can I respond, please? It was to me.
Yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead.
It's a huge chunk of parenting.
That they did
Go ahead.
something to deserve the punishment, no matter how the punishment is done.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. The kids will pick up on these patterns, and so what I'm describing specifically and trying to encourage people with children to do is to establish patterns that that address that provide negative consequences for undesirable actions in healthy ways, rather than by addressing them by screaming, by hitting. These are things that if your child learns that the way that them running into issues, right, or like the way if they learn that you deal with their undesirable behavior through violence, they may also express their way. They might also try to get their way when people are expressing undesirable behaviors by enacting violence on them. And that's so I agree that people will pick up our patterns. So it would be good if children could also develop healthy patterns so that when people are expressing undesirable behaviors towards them, they have healthy ways of addressing them. I mean, you're totally proving my point.
To pretend like you didn't understand a fucking thing I said right there. The kid will cry about the negative no matter what. So you deciding that this is an acceptable negative, but spanking isn't unacceptable to the kid, it's just a negative. They're not going to like it. Whether it's taking away their toys, taking away their tablets, putting them in their room, they could be traumatized equally for all these things. To them, it's just a negative. So how are you picking that your way is superior? Especially,
well, I'm telling you why. I'm telling you how. I'm literally answering. I'm answering that question. Like that's what the question you just asked is what I just answered, right? Like what I'm saying is that the better one, in my opinion,
negative thing, they're gonna like it. Like, oh yay, they took away my tablet.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
you're missing. When you're done, I'll address it. Whenever you're done, yeah.
Let's go ahead and let Ivan. Looks like Ivan wanted to chime in on that thought
before Ivan jumps in, right? Like,
sure.
To be clear, I what I'm saying is not that the child will be happy about being grounded. Is not that the child will be happy about you taking away their crowns. Is not that the child will be happy about being restrained when they're running out into the street. The point that I'm saying is to establish positive ways of engaging with undesirable behaviors, and that will produce them or give them the ability to do the same thing as they grow. That doesn't mean they're going to like being restrained in this way. It doesn't mean they're going to like going through these negative things. Doesn't mean they're going to like being hit in your scenario either. I'm talking about the downstream effects of it. You don't, for some reason, don't want to engage with that.
Well, the positive is them not doing that behavior anymore. That's the positive.
And
Go ahead, Ivan. Go ahead, Ivan. Go ahead, Ivan.
So Ryan, the problem that I notice in your framing is that you're making a god out of therapy, and that you're pretending that you know the way to healthy child rearing by the ways that you're actually imposing, let's say, your version of discipline. Like, that's the reason why we have religions and cultures in the first place. It's because we have different models of what healthy looks like. And you're saying, well, but my way of disciplining my child will produce a child that has no trauma because we have disciplined that child healthily. And I'm telling you, you have to have a standard for health to even begin to discipline the child in the correct form. So what Mr. Balderson was saying right now was basically, okay, you have your standard by which you're, let's say, inputting these, let's say, positive and negative rewards, okay? But you don't have a way to empirically know beyond what, let's say, your science, your theory tells you is less damaging, less pathological than other ways. And the question would be, you're saying, okay, your empiricist theory of psychology is even contradictory because, for example, Freud said good parents fail. What Freud said that. So the question is, how are you going to discipline your children correctly if you don't know the way to discipline them perfectly? You're going to have to rely on them bumping against reality at some point. So you're not going to have perfect parents. You're not going to have like the non-traumatic childhood. Okay. Your parents are going to make mistakes. So I completely applaud your desire to have people, let's say, be less vicious with their children. But at some point you have to say, why do we have to have HR manage everything? Like, can't we just let the kids like be a little freer instead of making everything into such a huge problem? Because ultimately what you're suggesting requires a state to impose on the population a health standard. Whereas in any regular society, even a traditional society, it lets parents decide that. And you can say, well, but parents can be abusive. Sure. And that's where like civil society must step up. Like if I see my neighbor beat his wife, and I see his wife walk around the halls of my building with bruises, I'm gonna step up, okay? But now we live in a society where stepping up is illegal. So we've shifted all of that burden that used to be on civil society onto the state and onto experts who have no way to prove their expertise. So what Mr. Balderson was saying was basically, where are the receipts for your means of disciplining your child, which are on your term less traumatic?
Yeah. So to respond, right. So first of all, I don't know where you got this idea that I'm that I'm like demanding a world where like there will be no trauma. I think every parent gives their kids trauma through some means or another. I think that's a ridiculous statement. I never said anything like that. I don't know where you were getting that from. And to be clear, when I'm talking about what kinds of things kids will learn from these negative consequences, I feel like I'm making an extremely uncontroversial claim, which is that children learn from the behavior of their parents. And so if you decide that you want your child to be someone who, when kids around them or people around them are expressing undesirable behaviors, that they enact violence because that's what they learned from you, then fine, go ahead, do that. I'm not even talking about the laws right now. If that's what you want your kid to do, then I guess you can do that. But if you don't want your child to be that person, if you want them to be someone who handles conflict in what I would perceive to be a healthier way, and I think most normal people would perceive to be a healthier way, then perhaps there are other ways that you can address these things. See, I've been shaking his head because he thinks that, yes, it's actually good. I want my children to grow up, and whenever people do undesirable undesirable things around them, I want them to smack them. I want them to learn from me, right? And that's fine. You can feel that way. That's fine. It's a fine opinion to have. That's not the position that I hold personally.
Can I ask Ivan a question?
If you assert these things in that way, then you're going to produce that result. And I don't think it's controversial at all to say that.
Hold on.
Ivan,
And I want
do you support
to
evidence-based
hold that thought. Tuck that little thought, Duck, and just pin it on the wall. Cheap boop. It's pinned. Hold on just a second. Fourth Wiseman asked the question, should children be given dessert if their main meal nutrients dense isn't eaten? So if you didn't eat the meat, you didn't eat the mashed potatoes, you didn't eat the broccoli, should you be allowed to have dessert? Let's start at the top of the panel. We'll work our way around. 10th man to you, sir. What are your thoughts on that?
No.
All right. Tootie?
Like I said in chat, if you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat?
Yeah, I am pro eat your meal. I might let I'll let bread or carbs slide because it's not like that.
It's just filler, really.
It's just filler, but eat the meat, eat the veggie, and we're good to go, and I don't care. Ben, to you?
Yeah, you can't eat even without kids around. Like there's occasions that Christy, for whatever reason, the dessert's done and supper's taken too long because like the wood was wet or something, and she'll give it to us, and I look at her crazy like, "What are you doing? Don't eat dessert before supper. That's nuts."
Fair enough. Ant, to you?
Tootie beat me to the Pink Floyd quote I was going to use.
Ryan, to you?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, like if we want kids to instill good habits, then we start early. And this is an example where if you don't let them have their dessert because they're not doing the thing that's expected of them to, so that they learn how to maintain a healthy diet early on, then don't give them dessert. Yeah, fuck them kids.
No, you should beat them. Beat them till they eat the food.
And whenever Ryan has kids later on, show this to his children. Look, this is what your daddy said about you.
Yeah.
Fuck them kids.
Green beans and I'll give you some ice cream, okay? Until you're done, none.
Ivan, to you?
No dessert for the kids.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
No dessert for the kids.
Okay. Clay, to you?
Yeah, same. Consensus.
All right. And Duck, to you?
So my experience is maybe from Dad. Mine learned tricky behavior. What tricky behavior was around like 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there. I forget exactly when it was. And so I don't care if we have dessert at the house. Sure, have dessert. Like make the decision. I think as long as it's not like a habitual sort of like if it's from mom and dad doing self-serving things, I would say that no dessert is one of the things that like a measure I would implement, but it would be one of the main things I'd consider is no dessert. Kind of this is what we're having, and you have input on the food menu because we live in 2025, and that's how that works here.
Okay.
I think that's a yes.
And before we shift over, Ant, go ahead. You had a question to Ryan, and then we will move over to your pin, Duck.
It's less of a question, just more. I'm going to share some personal experience, and I doubt my experience is unique. I have a daughter. She's 16 years old. When she was a young child, we did try to use that type of negative reinforcement of just taking something away from her in order to adjust her behavior. She just decided she could do without those things and would continue doing what she wanted to do. It really doesn't work like you hope it does. Maybe it does, and I don't. Hold on, I don't mind you trying that as a first step, because I'm always about starting with the least invasive procedure and going forward with that. But it doesn't always work, Ryan. I'm sorry.
She was the Diogenes of her time. Diogenes that Socrates said to him, if you would obey the king, you wouldn't have to just eat lentils. And Diogenes looked at him and said, if you'd learn to eat lentils, you wouldn't have to listen to the king.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I mean, just to respond to God's favorite aunt, right? I don't think at any point I ever said that this is going to work in 100% of cases. I am still saying that if that particular thing doesn't work, that perhaps there are other creative ways to approach these sorts of situations than, again, going to the smack. And I'm not saying the smack is never necessary, but I'm encouraging people to take a minute and think about other ways they can address these situations, right? Like, even if this taking away the crowns doesn't do it, then maybe reintroduce some new rules around the crowns. Where I don't know. I'm being thinking on my feet here, right? But like in the moment, right, taking away the crowns obviously solves that specific problem, because they're no longer able to draw on the walls, and they are upset that you're taking away the crowns. So it does absolutely stop them from drawing on the walls in that situation and give a negative result. You might run into other problems down the road where you can't take away something to solve it. And I mean, part of being a parent is about having complex, dynamic situations that you have to be creative about. I hate to break it to you guys. I can't believe the guy without children is the one telling you guys this, but I think everyone should know that by now.
Exactly. The guy who's never.
Yeah, we know
children.
it's the one with no experience is the one talking. We all caught that.
Let me say one thing and then I'll hand it over to Duck. Thank you for waiting patiently. Ryan, I look forward to one day you getting married and having children, and it is a blessing, and everyone should enjoy that as much as they can. But
after
one
enough
thing,
piss and puke, he's going to throw that kid against the wall.
oh my God. But after one thing that you're going to learn along the way is parenting is not a one set of rules concept. And you are going to be learning just as much as your child is on how to mitigate these scenarios. And you will continue questioning yourself, wanting to improve yourself as a parent, always thinking like, did I fuck it up? Am I fucking this up? Like, how do I do better? And you will continue to grow and improve as a person and a parent and everything possible, the same as your child. So as you maneuver along, and you'll also learn if you have more than one child, holy fucking shit, they're not the same. None of them are the same. The 3-2-1 rule worked perfect with my daughter. She was like, nope, not going to see any more of that day. My son, he's like, yeah, I don't fucking care, lady. Like, keep going, like, try me, right? But I learned other ways with him that do work. So I look forward to you having that blessing, but I also will give you fair warning that you will grow with your child all at once, and it's beauty as well as chaos and crazy and holy fucking shit, what am I doing? So that's my thought to you. But once you get there, then you're gonna come back to this panel and you'll be like, fuck them kids, beating their asses. Holy shit! Like, you're gonna change your whole thought process. I promise you.
I think there are a lot of parents who disagree with the approach you guys are describing as well, and I think I would be one of them when I do have kids. I think I will be one of those parents who still disagrees with you guys, and I don't think that just having kids necessarily means that you're gonna jump to violence in that specific way as the solution to all of these different problems. And I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying about dynamically and changing alongside your child. I mean, yeah, of course, that's exactly what I'm saying, is that dynamically engaging with different situations and potentially realizing, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong here and trying to improve that. And yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. I just don't agree with the end result being that, oh, now Ryan's also gonna make this decision. Whenever his kid draws on the wall, he's gonna smack him. Like, I actually explicitly think that's not gonna happen.
One thing I'll say, and I'll hand it back to you, Duck. Violence, as it's defined, I don't think spankings on the butt would be under that category. But Duck, to you, sir. And I'm gonna step away. I do have to tinkle really quick. I'm gonna leave Tootie in charge. If she tells you to shut the fuck up, you will listen. I'll be back in less than 3 minutes. Stand by. Go ahead, Duck.
Go ahead.
All right. So one of the things I was a little bit curious about is what people think about like evidence-based parenting. You know, I didn't read that many books or anything, but also, you know, just like the Banana for Scale or something is like.
Explain what evidence-based parenting is quickly, Duck. I don't know if any of the rest of us know that.
Yeah. So evidence, like you can Google it. Evidence-based parenting is using like informing your decisions around things like diet or rules about like TV or apps and devices, discipline, using research, using scientifically derived research. And so it kind of is like rules of thumb instead of just doing everything or kind of most things off the cuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? You like if you're able to look at data and research and or experts who work with that data a lot, and you understand that certain things lead to certain outcomes or tend to lead to certain outcomes, then you can make decisions about whether or not you want to engage in those things. It doesn't mean that there's one size fits all in any situation. I don't think Duck or anyone's ever saying that, and I feel like that's the implication when people hear and roll their eyes at the idea of like evidence-based parenting or evidence or like research data in general about these things. It's just about like what does the data suggest happens in these cases, what tends to happen, and that's perfectly reasonable to take into account in your decision making. In fact, it's kind of unreasonable not to.
All right, let me just hit you with a little bit of a dose of reality, okay? You can do all this research that you want to, but when you are in a moment with your child and something happens, you cannot predict how you are going to respond or how that child will respond. So it doesn't matter how much you read about whatever you want to. When that moment comes, you were probably going to act completely different than what you think you know.
I totally agree.
There's times where you have it.
I thought I was going to be.
Yeah.
I'll never hit my kids. No, there comes moments.
I mean that also seems like a tutty bug. I think of that as sort of like something parents are loosely able to address, right? And some of it comes down to expectations. Like, do you want like I'm happy. I'd be happy if I was a parent. As a parent, I'd be happy if a child wanted to read for 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day, and 4 out of 7 days of the week they asked to read. Right, like that is a reasonable sort of goal, and so as like a benchmark, if you just ask like what happens in 24 hours for that person, in order for them to be able to read for 15 minutes or something like that should, like, people might think that doesn't make sense, but that should be a wake-up call for some people.
Okay, how do we go from whether it's okay or not to spank your child in a moment to letting them read for 10 minutes a day?
Don't stretch your brain too hard on trying to figure out what Duck says.
I think he's speaking to the nature of like this kind of evidence-based thing. Like the evidence would suggest that if the child does do that, then that there's going to be better outcomes for them, right? As for your like in the moment thing specifically, I think that like yes. Obviously, in any individual moment, we can't predict exactly how dynamic like a real life situation is. Even like on this panel, right? Like we don't know exactly how we're all going to respond given any sort of stimulation in this conversation. But if we find that we have a specific pattern of engaging in a specific way, then we can observe that and take actions to try to address it. And I think that's a good thing to do. That's what a healthy adult has to do. In fact, to like have good results in society and survive well, and to keep people around them.
And if people don't take it seriously, if they don't take parenting seriously in the first place, why are we even having a conversation on panel about that?
Because I don't know why anybody would assume parents who spank their children as disciplined don't practice that same thing. And as a matter of fact, as Sarah said, I've got 7 kids and helped raise a whole bunch more. And some of them, they needed spankings. Some of them, if you talked to them, they would understand that. Usually the girls less on the spankings, the boys more. The boys, they're just like, yeah,
they're more hard-headed.
Yeah, and the girls, you can talk to them usually. Like my grandson, he had a whole thing just a couple of years ago where he learned to flip people off. And one of his teachers taught him to flick, go like this instead of flipping people off. So that dude, he'd look at people and be like, like that. I mean, the intent was fully still there. And so he goes like this, and he goes to do it at his mom, my oldest daughter, and my wife goes, I wouldn't do that to her if I were you. And he just looks at her and goes, oh, I would. Right. Zero shits given.
Time to
Okay, let Ivan go. Ivan's been wanting to go. Go ahead.
I wanted to say that there's a reason why these conversations need to have like a metaphysical and spiritual grounding, because like what you're saying is we can gather enough data so that we can reorder the world according to the best of our knowledge, looking at the data. And I'm saying, bro, the methodology that these people are using is faulty. I'd rather trust I don't know, the patriarchs of my community. I'd rather trust my own instinct rather than look at studies that, no matter how many people they're studying, are being interpreted by people whose, let's say, opinion I do not trust. So they're gathering all of these data, asking questions that I do not even know if they're relevant. They're trying to predict outcomes, and they're saying, oh, now we should reorder society because this is more moral. And that's basically a political, that's a political power grab. That's saying, oh, I'm the expert. Trust me, give me all of the power. Let's lock down all of the country because of this disease. And I remember that happening a little while ago, and I was like, I think that the experts really didn't know what they were doing. So right now we're in a cultural situation where the Enlightenment as a project, modernity, this idea that science will improve and empiricism will bring us forward to a new age, that's all crumbling.
It has.
It has.
Yeah, it's not.
Lost track with the new.
It's sad. It's sad you have so little curiosity about the topic. It sounds like you're
I agree. And I mean, frankly, nobody is advocating for the state to enforce any of these specific things, right? Nobody's advocating for the state to come in and say like this is the right way to parent. Like there are going to be laws that are going to be made about specific things, I mean, like we can engage with that and have a different conversation about that. But all we're talking about is parents looking at data, looking at specific data, and understanding. Okay, well, these people, whatever, this college or this research organization, they surveyed this many people, or they studied that when this thing happened, this result tended to happen, and then making decisions potentially based on taking that as one piece of the puzzle, not deciding, okay, well, that data showed this, so I'm always going to interact with my children in this specific way. Obviously, real world situations are far more dynamic, and you should, to some degree, take your gut into account. I agree. Instinct is very important in reality, but
no, that's you made two very serious blunders. First of all, you said that your models are more
count on yours.
Yeah, you made two serious blunders. One, that your models are more accurate and more encompassing than human experience. There is no human created model that is more complex than a single human being. So on that ground, you're already disqualified. But moreover, you're
saying, respond to that before you go to another point.
Let me finish. And on the other point that you made a serious mistake was that you were saying basically that I was claiming that you need the state to enforce it. No. Simply saying that you're the expert and that people should listen to you is a claim to authority and power. That's what I'm pointing out. What these scientism guys are always doing is saying, listen to me, I'm the expert because I gathered the data. And what I'm saying to you is, no. You're gathering the data that you think is relevant. You're interpreting it like you think it's relevant, and you want to shove it down our throats while claiming that that's not a political claim to power and authority, while it cannot not be one. And you're claiming neutrality. There is no neutrality because it's human beings interpreting reality. So what I'm saying to you is, why do you always need to stake a political position to ground your authority from empiricism? You're saying, oh, I just can grab all this experience, process it through my experts, and we can get to the right solution. And I'm telling you, we already know that shit. It's called Gnosticism. It has existed for millennia. It's a religion.
Yeah, I mean, I think this like dismissal of like data, it's just kind of stupid. Like, obviously not all data is perfect. Nobody's claiming that we can figure out the right answers, the perfect way to raise a child or whatever. But I mean, we can learn that some specific things tend to lead to some specific outcomes, and we can take that into account when living our lives, whether that's in the context of raising children or not. And I mean, you pointing out that, like, institutions deciding like what to publish or whatever has some inherent politic to it is I would agree with that to some degree, but like, I mean, it's completely vapid and meaningless to the conversation.
Ryan, can I ask you a question?
Always, Ben.
Do you think that let's say
I'm muted. I apologize. Let me do one grift, Ben, real quick, because the goal ran out. But Jason did save you all from the goal. Somebody has an echo. Jason did save you all from the goal running out. He sent a big 75, and he says it didn't expire. So lucky all to you. Please send tomatoes in the chat for our lovely hero, Jason. That is hero status. And then also El Piro says, I'm addressing Ryan's lack of experience. Let Balderson express his. And I think Balderson, Ben actually is father of many as well. And I think it is helpful. Somebody still has an echo. I'm hearing it.
I'll turn myself off. See if
check. I think it is yours. Maybe try. I don't know if you have echo cancellation on or if you have speakers on or something. But men who or women who do have children and do have experience do understand kind of what I'm trying to emulate here to Ryan is like once you have a kid, your whole perspective changes, right? And I'm not saying that you are anything less than for not having children yet, Ryan. But what I am saying is typically we do need to.
We said that part.
We do need to like understand that people who are in that experience do understand those moments and what happens and why and so on and so forth. So I don't want to negate experience. I want to amplify it to that degree. But Ben, I will hand it back to you.
Thank you. Since the super chat mentioned me, can I please just add one and point to that, right?
Yeah.
Like I challenge you all to find one moment in this entire conversation where I said, no, you're wrong for engaging with your children in this way. I think I've just explicitly said, and to be clear, there are going to be plenty of people with children who agree more with my perspective on this than yours. So, I mean, we kind of have to pick an anecdote of who we want to engage with. Sure, there's people might not be hearing this conversation. That doesn't mean they don't exist. You all know they exist, right?
No, I think you're lying.
Okay, that's fine. I don't care if you feel that way. I think it's kind of stupid to say that.
Ryan, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
You understand? Like, so you would say that like the natural order is that there's a father and a mother in a house. That's normal, right? And that's good. And the father is masculine or male. The woman is feminine. And I think we all understand that there's like a dark masculine and a dark feminine, or if you want to call it toxic masculine, toxic feminine, right? So in my experience, for example, I grew up like largely my father was pushed out of the household, and my mother operated through like guilt, and it could last for months, and kind of like, this was a way of parenting. I think it was unhealthy. That's one form of it, right? Maybe with males, there's more of a tendency, like if the guy's out of control, to be violent or something like that. But would you agree that like a lot of people have the experience, I'd rather get punched by a man than have like this months-long torture session from a woman? You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, when we say violence is the problem, it's abuse that's the problem. And abuse might be more in the form of a fist for a man and not for a woman, but abuse is abuse, and that's the problem. Your thoughts?
Well, I definitely agree with the last part there about abuse as being the problem, which is why this whole conversation, when I talk about the smacking thing, I'm not talking about like a one-off instance where you, in an emotional state, like react to somebody, your child, like running into traffic or whatever, and pull them back and go, no, don't ever do that again. Like, I'm talking about establishing a pattern where you engage with this child whenever they do something undesirable with a smack, right? And they then learn, okay, whenever there's people around me who I think they will tend to learn, right? Because again, kids are sponges. They're going to tend to learn that when people do things that they find undesirable, that the way to engage with that is also by smacking, right? And that's what I'm saying is something that if you decide to go that route, if you decide to go that route, then that's going to be a likely result. And if you don't care about that, or if you want that to be the result, then more power to you. I think it's a bad idea, but I'm not your dad. I'm not going to tell you how to raise your kids, right?
Okay, but what I'm saying is, yes, you are. You people like you are going to tell me how I can and can't raise my kids. Absolutely, you're going to. You have, and you continue to. I spent 12 days in jail for going for a walk with my daughter. So yes.
Wait, was that when you kicked her on camera, or was that a different thing?
No, that's when I went for a walk with my daughter. But let's just
say.
stay.
Oh, after the restraining order because you kicked her. I'm sorry, I understand now.
You're a totalitarian. Yes, you are. Yes. So,
I don't think totalitarians are people who acknowledge there are laws put in place by elected officials in our country, and if you break those laws, then you're going to be punished. Even if I don't agree with those laws, that's not totalitarianism, Ben. And you broke the law, dumbass.
Hold on, I will say, Ben, but Ben, I do think you're a piece of shit for kicking Grace, and I don't think anybody was like on board with you doing that. And that would be maybe leaning towards Ryan's argument of like, at what point does that pattern become wrong, right? Like,
I mean, I would always say kicking is wrong. When you're punishing with physical punishment, it needs to be a very controlled and doled out very specifically. Kicking a kid, that's insane. That's not a swat on the butt that you've now told them what they're doing, why you're trying to set this in place, and you give them specific punishment. Kicking them, that's just an emotional, angry thing.
Reasonable.
Do you know the circumstance? It was more like a shove with my foot, shoving her off of bed.
No, you knocked her off the fucking, like you knocked.
No, I didn't. You're lying.
I remember as we reviewed it a long time ago. It was like,
should we watch the clip, guys?
Who's got the clip?
It's easier to find. Just search Ben Thorpe kicks Grace Thorpe or something. I guarantee you'll find it in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, fine. And there was no violence really. It was just an expression of annoyance. Now, I think that in the circumstances, it's perfectly fine. I would use that kind of violence on anyone. It's like it's not that big of a deal. But you could argue it. But you yourself, Ryan, said that sometimes you got to smack a kid. And also, I think sometimes men have to smack women. And also, sometimes women maybe have to smack men, but I think it's more tricky. But my point is...
He just went Sean Connery with it.
Yeah. I don't think really any of us disagree with Sean Connery that sometimes women push things to where, they're asking for it. And a lot of times
I completely disagree. There's never... This is the thing. When you are capable of violence, almost 100% of the time, you do never have to use the violence. The fact that you think that you need to use violence, unless you're being attacked, is adorable to me.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but I do.
That's because you're not a man. If you think that you need to listen, I'm a 6'1", 230 something pound man.
Mm-hmm.
If I raise my voice to anybody, I cam up all the time. You don't need to see me. That's got nothing to do with the discussion.
Conversation.
Go fuck yourself. Anyway, there is never a time when I have to do more than raise my voice in any situation, even with another man, because I am willing to take it as far as it needs to go. And you know that the second that I start talking to you and telling you to stop. The fact that you think that
not be afraid of you.
I guarantee you in this conversation right now, you wouldn't be speaking over me face to face. That's the discussion.
I'd be looking down.
That's right.
I'd be looking down at you.
And I've been beaten many times, which means I'm willing to take it as far as it needs to go. You're not. You actually would call the cops. I wouldn't. That's the discussion, right? There's never a time when you have to hit a woman because I will never allow it to get there. I am grown up. That's why I know I don't need to put my hands on a woman. You're ridiculous.
Your solution.
Ladies, you're both pretty.
No,
I'm telling you right now,
there are times
you're a childish fool.
Violence is necessary.
You guys play
no, unless you are protecting yours. No, unless you're protecting yourself from physical violence, violence is never necessary.
Do you guys think Ben learned this from his father?
I just don't think. Listen, that's the problem, Ryan. Is I got more respect for you than I do this guy, because at least you're willing to like have a rational discussion. What this guy's saying is
you
so
come on here
irrational.
and go, hey, my dick is bigger
You're
than
a
yours.
cuck.
It's not an argument. Get
You're
the
a
fuck
cuck.
out of here. You are
My
a
dick is
loser.
bigger than yours.
Tiny penis. Get out of here.
Yes.
Cam up.
Well, it's average.
Go away.
I don't think we want 10th Man to cam up for his penis. Thank you very much.
Sarah, you're muted.
Listen, my simply my point is, if
You're muted,
Yes, you're
Sarah.
still muted.
There you are.
Good now. Good now.
I'm here now.
If you say violence is the problem, but abuse isn't the problem, then you hate men. And many people in our society hate men, like Ryan. They're anti-masculine and they hate men. Of course, men can be overly violent, prone to violence. That is like bitch behavior. But to occasionally, sparingly engage in violence.
Are you sure
is no
about that,
different.
Ben?
Sure
Yeah,
about
it's
what?
just every once in a while I beat my dog.
Are
What
you
the
really
fuck?
sure that I'm just asking a very simple question? Are you very sure that like people like Ryan, who seems generally like to
Brian.
either support or not totally endorse like this weird identity thing that we're doing, a lot of times, are you sure that he hates men? That seems like that
Yes.
would be counterproductive
He's a
to what
self-loathing
Ryan
male,
talks
yes.
about.
I don't even hate you, Ben. I mean, I think you're kind of repulsive in a lot of ways, on a lot of dimensions, but I don't hate you. I want a world where you have healthcare and access to clean
You
food.
hate
and
your
water,
own
you know?
masculinity. You hate masculinity. Yes.
Okay.
Right. And this is why, I'll just say, I'll make an argument. I don't think you're the worst, but you see the problems in society are male sexuality and male violence. And you don't see the equal problem with female sexuality and female violence, which tend to be like different in nature, but they are far more insidious and they're far more powerful in our society. Any woman, as I found out last week, any woman can accuse any man of anything and get a restraining order against him.
Can you tell us more?
Men
about-
doing the restraining, not
What's
the
that?
woman. There would be the men, the police, the men actually doing the restraining, not the
Yeah, but can you tell us more about how you found that out?
Oh yeah, a lunatic from Connecticut applied for a restraining order, and the judges over
against
like
you?
thinking for me and my daughter as well.
Crazy.
And
How did that happen?
hey Ryan, you're gonna need one soon if you don't shut the fuck up, because I'm gonna come find
I've
you and shove that.
let me do this. It is ladies' night. Jason, I'll let you choose because you've been the sponsor of the evening, but I have Grace Thorpe backstage and it is ladies' night, so we have automatic priority to bring them up. Jason, who would you like to boot backstage? Preferably avatars. Oh, sorry, but
10th Man.
all right, 10th Man, I
I'm
know
good
you don't
with that.
mind. Yeah,
No, you
you're
know,
always such a
yeah.
gentleman. Thank you, 10th Man. I'll leave you back there. Hi, Grace.
Hi, Sarah. How are you doing?
I'm well. And I did want to ask one question because Mrs. Balderson, you raised your hand earlier, so I wanted to see if you wanted to chime in on something as well.
I did when somebody was talking about women hitting men and men hitting women. I am a tiny person. I'm only 5 feet tall. I've always considered myself
Aw.
fairly tough. But I've always known better than to hit a man because I expect that if I hit someone, they're going to hit me back. That's human nature. Don't
Right,
hit
but I mean, if you push your I don't know if he's your husband, but
No,
whatever,
I don't
a little bit of
know.
physicality. If he's being an idiot, right? Like, is he
No.
he's gonna clock you?
He's never going to put hands on me. He's never put hands on me, and I'm not going to put hands on
Well, I
him.
mean, what I'm saying is like, okay, you two put hands on each other. You created 6 children, right? So you put hands on each other. Let's be honest, okay? I don't know.
Not in a violent way. I'm a
Be
farmer.
violent, sex
I
is
put
violent. If it's
cows- I
good,
put
if
cows
it's good,
around.
if you're leaving her with a smile on her face, it's kind of violent, to be honest, right? We all
No.
know.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
Ben,
look at
you
her
always
smiling. Look at her
fucking
smiling.
go
Look at her
weird.
smiling.
You
Look at her
always
smiling.
go weird.
It's a little bit, you know.
You always gets gross, man. Always.
She's smiling. That means it's true. That means
Here's the
it's true.
thing.
She's
Here's the
smiling.
thing, Ben. Hold on. Here's the thing, Ben. Okay, we know what sex is, but when we're talking about like physical violence, we're fighting, and it's not in a defensive manner. This is not okay, dude.
Wait, quick, click.
Yeah, and that's intentionally conflating. That's intentionally
wait.
conflating between like certain kinds of sexual violence, which can be fun to engage in, and what he's obviously
Move your
talking.
mic away.
which was-
Move your mic away. It's like
sorry.
crashing
Move it
out.
far away. Move to the other side of the room and move yourself out.
Yeah,
the
Ryan, and I'll actually say, Ryan, the further you are away, we actually hear you even better. But when every time you
Sure.
get close, everything cuts out.
Okay, well, let me just respond. Right.
Female sexuality. Okay.
So I think
And
that's intentionally conflating different kinds of violence, and that's what we should all
Ryan,
take from this, right?
You're all talking.
You're still,
Hold
you're
on.
Ryan, you're still cutting in and out.
Ryan,
and
Well, it's because multiple people are talking, right? It's and the StreamYard does that sometimes
Yeah,
too.
but I actually
Listen,
said that. then.
what is it that
Get
women?
cucked, Ryan.
What is it that women, and I'm not speaking from vast experience, what is it that women want to experience in that act? They want to be dominated by a man. That's what they say when they're asked what they want to
they don't
experience.
wanna
They
have
want to
the
be
job
dominated
talking
by a
about that.
man's
That is lacking
physicality.
so
Jesus
much
Christ.
nuance.
Hold on. Dominated, not beaten to a pulp. Like there is a very
Sarah.
big difference,
Yes.
right? We do understand that.
But
Not only is there a big
why
difference,
are-
but specifically
attracted to-
They wanna
conflating
look like
sexual.
Hold on. Hold the fuck on. Did everybody just get stupid for a fucking minute? You all know better. Ben, I know you haven't been here in a while. Grace, I know you haven't been here in a while too. But everyone else, I fucking expect better. Stop it. Ryan, please
Okay,
finish your
so-
thought and then to Ben. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So like I was saying, Ben is explicitly, and we can all see it happening in real time, right? He's explicitly trying to conflate different kinds
You're
of
saying
violence, right?
explicitly.
I don't think I am, but that's fine. So Grace, whenever I'm done, you can make fun of me all you want, right? But like what I'm saying specifically is that Ben is conflating that's fine. Ben is
Please let him
conflating
finish.
a kind of violence that people might engage in for fun and a kind of violence that people engage in to resolve conflict. That's what Ben is specifically doing, and you should all watch him do that as he dances around the fact that I just pointed this out as they've been trying to mock me, so I won't be able to say it, right?
I'm saying that there is an order to nature that women like men who are tall and masculine because they feel protected, but part of that also, as Balderson's girlfriend, I don't know, wife said that she's also a little bit afraid that if she was to be crazy towards him, he would smack her back. They like that because that gives them a sense of like I'm in the right place. I'm around a strong.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Okay, all right, let's start with number one. Are women attracted to big, strong, masculine men? Yes or no, Studi Buggy? Tell me you're not. Tell me you're not.
What's the answer?
That was so masculine.
That's not a masculine man.
You didn't lay off the sauce.
That's a fucking bitch. That's
lay off
not
the sauce.
see
It's
that
obvious you've been
okay.
drinking
So
a little too much
let's
tonight.
clarify. Let's clarify, Ben, because that kind of shit that you just did, total fucking turn off. Now you think you're being powerful and bold, and I'm man. But we're over here like I just dried the fuck up because this big man's yelling at the lady like,
Hey, speak for
"I'm
yourself,
bigger
Sarah.
than you."
Speak for yourself, Sarah.
Let's just
Grace.
You guys need to know.
Grace.
This is the.
Hey, you don't know the
right?
state of every woman's
That's-
genitals in here.
That was just.
Let's
It's
be
different.
respectful.
You didn't dry
It's
up
different.
from that.
Finish your thought, Ben,
He's my
and then you
father,
go
Clay.
to the back
I know,
for 10
that's
minutes.
Even weirder.
Unless anybody
Clay, it's
wants
all the joke.
unless anybody wants to
When
keep
you started
Ben on.
talking, it dried up significantly, but you know.
But it didn't dry up when your father spoke.
Your asshole
That's
got wet,
fucking
Stop. He's getting weird. All right,
Go to the
Ben, you got
bathroom and wipe, boy.
stand by. You got 10 minutes in the back, Ben. Hang tight unless somebody wants to bring you back up. All right.
So a point in this would be that the whole reason that you use that very limited violence with children, such as spanking, is because they don't have the intelligence yet or the reasoning to fully understand the implications of the things that they do.
Yeah, my mother could explain to me 1,000 times not to light places on fires with matches, but the spanking taught me not to do it.
That's not something I would apply to my wife. My wife, an adult.
Right, but if your kid was lighting the woods around your house on fire like I was, that might have to be a spanking, right? Lighting stuff on fire.
Spanking is not necessarily.
When you do it like 4 or 5 times.
Spanking.
I'm just saying. You can't say never, because I was a bad kid sometimes.
First time.
Violence is the use of force with the
that's not my
intent of
wife.
causing injury. Unless you are
I don't
spanking
understand-
someone
No,
to
can I say something?
the intent to injure them.
Go
it is
ahead,
not
Grace.
Violence.
I don't understand why people have this huge issue with violence when, like, mental torture of a person can be far, far worse. I don't understand. Like, violence is a human thing. It can be great. It can be not
that
great.
was a good
Hold
thing.
on.
I don't understand why people are like, violence is definitely not the way to go. But like, if a parent is like tormenting you and giving you the guilt trip and the silent treatment for days at a time, I'd much rather take a beating. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people would. I don't understand. The parent may be right, they may not be right, but why is that always like not on the table?
I mean, that sounds like emotional abuse to me. But.
I was going to say, I mean,
Well, but no. But
never
what I'm
been, like,
saying
two
is like
options,
this
right?
gentle parenting that millennials do. It's actually emotional abuse. It's psychological torture, in my opinion. And I just
Yeah.
think being upfront with it and just saying like, you know, different kids have different needs, but like, why is violence off the table? And I guess this is mostly to Ryan. Like,
Well,
I
I
don't
have just
understand
only-
why.
Oh yeah,
And
to
if
respond.
they
Hang on.
misbehave,
It was mostly to.
put them on drugs.
Go ahead, Tootie. Remember, it is females do
Yeah,
have
sorry.
the right tonight. Tootie, I didn't hear what you said.
No, I'm actually agreeing with Grace on this point. And then whenever the kids still don't want to behave, they automatically just put them on some kind of narcotic drug. you
I
know?
mean, Sarah. Oh, sorry, Tootie.
Wait. Since the
Why-
specific thing Grace
why-
said.
why did
Hang
you
on,
bring
Doc.
that up?
With some
What are
kind
you
of
talking about?
conviction,
Hold
and then
the fuck up. Let me
The
clarify.
actual shit
Sorry,
is talking
Tootie.
about?
Sorry, Tootie. Duck, shut the fuck up and listen for a second. Every gentleman on here has one rule tonight, and that is ladies get priority. If there is a female flapping her fucking lips like this and words are coming out, you're going to shut your fucking mouth. End of story. Tootie, back to you, please.
Does Ryan count as a female? Because I consider him to be one. He's part of the girls. He's the girls' girl.
Tootie,
He has
your
he
thoughts,
has permission.
please.
okay, but I done forgot my thought. I made my point, but I forgot it now. So go ahead now. If somebody can.
Yeah,
just-
if I can just respond to, since Grace was specifically addressing me, right? This idea that gentle parenting or whatever I'm advocating for is encouraging people to give the silent treatment or do what I think other things that we would all agree are emotional abuse. I think that's ridiculous. It's not what I
Or
said.
drug them. Don't leave out drug them.
Bro. Maybe
That was
the
my
other
point.
boomers on here don't like. I see it on TikTok, like these fucking millennials with their kids, and they're like, "Can we try that again? Can
Yeah,
we try
fuck
that
that.
again, sweetie?" That is super fucking manipulative,
Yeah, I
and
didn't
you're
say anything
treating
about
your
that.
child like they are more equal to you than they are. Now, not every kid needs to be hit, but like. Why do you think you have the right to tell other people with children what they should do with them when you're like 35 and you live with a dog? You have no girlfriend, you get no pussy, you're not going to have kids. Why do
I do have a
you
girlfriend.
care
I
about
do-
what other people
no,
are doing
okay,
with their
when you're done.
kids? Why?
Number one, I do have a girlfriend.
You think kids deserve
number
to be
two-
killed? You think if a woman
Why'd
doesn't
you
like her
bring the
kids, she
dog
deserves to be
into it?
killed? She can abort it. You stand for killing your kids after giving birth if you don't want them. You said that to me once. You don't care about kids. So what is this fucking LARP that you're doing right now? You don't give a shit about kids.
Okay, so whenever are you done venting?
Exposing
Okay,
you?
yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Respond.
Yeah,
She
you
is
can
right,
whatever you want.
Ryan. Unfortunately, you've made me agree with Grace.
I mean, and that's fine, but about what? Like, I mean, like she didn't address anything I've said tonight, right? All I've said tonight, I haven't even actually told anyone how they should do anything. What I've said is that certain things you do will lead to certain outcomes, and if you're okay with those outcomes, or are likely to lead to certain outcomes, if you're okay with those outcomes, then I mean, more power to you. I disagree with it.
Your
but that doesn't
parents
mean
should have
I-
hit you a lot more. A lot
parents
more.
should be
They
funny.
should
Don't-
have
don't
beaten
worry about
your
it, Grace.
ass.
Not only that,
They
though,
did.
Ryan, you have compared it to, like, you've compared spankings
enough.
to violence. You've specifically used the language violence. And I think probably all of the parents who have spanked their kids' butts, I take that as an insult to compare it to violence, because violence is pain and harm and damage and like terrible things that we should not do. And it's fucking illegal, right? So basically every time you say up here, oh, well, you know, doing violence like this would pattern of behavior, whatever. And it's like, we all take that as a personal insult because you're implying that we're violent to our children.
Well, I disagree with that because spankings are violence. Like, I just disagree with that. I don't have
violence.
a problem.
I mean, like,
it's a forceful use of power to hurt someone. That's violent.
Yeah,
it
and
may
there's a
not be extreme
spectrum,
violence,
right?
but it is violence. Like, that's fine to say.
Yeah, and there's a spectrum. And I think you guys are not engaging with how. Sorry, Judy, go ahead.
Hold on. As a parent, it is not my responsibility to give a shit if my 4-year-old child respects me. Okay? I'm sorry, that's not how reality works.
No, but it is your duty to make sure that they have good habits instilled in them young, right? And that they don't grow up to be someone who handles conflict in an unhealthy way, right?
Yeah.
Ryan, you want the proof that your way is not working?
A car is not
You can do whatever, sure.
Getting
the proof is
not
sorry, Cody.
Okay? It's getting hit by a fucking car. That's not conflict. And if you got to teach a 4-year-old with a swat on the ass that pain equals bad, going out in front of that car is bad. That's what's going to happen. Then that's what needs to be done.
No, you know what? We're all getting
the same. Not all kids are the same.
We're all getting baited by Ryan. No, we're all getting baited because what he's talking about is physical abuse, and we're all saying like none of us would say physical abuse towards children is okay. That's what he's arguing against, which everybody already says is not okay. To take out your anger on your kids, to vent on your kids, to abuse your kids. Nobody thinks that's okay. That's what he's arguing against. We all agree.
Well,
so
I mean, you're just wrong about that, Grace.
That we actually disagree on. Because everybody here is saying like a swat on the ass, and you're talking about like beating them to a pulp, and like nobody here backs that. So what is your actual argument?
I have never used anything but my own hand to spank my child because in my thought, if he's got to feel the pain, I should feel it too. It's going to hurt me like it hurts him.
I've
never used a belt.
Wait, let me
a paddle, a spoon.
Let me ask you a question.
Isn't
let me ask you a
associated.
question.
What am I supposed to say to this, right?
Let me ask you a question, Tootie. I am of the opinion that women should really, really try not to do the physical discipline in the house because I think women are closer to the children and therefore they have more emotional investment in it. I think most physical discipline should be done by the father.
Well, before we go down that rabbit hole, because that's a whole different conversation, right? I just want to say one thing.
Excuse me, I asked a female a question.
My mother hit me with her hand. My mother hit me with her hand. Did nothing. So she used a spoon when I was really young. But then I learned.
Well, I mean,
Fourth, let me ask this question. Fourth Wiseman, you said, I want to know who Ben Thorpe was yelling at. I don't think any of his rants helped anyone, especially himself. Wakey, Ben Thorpe. And I have to ask, are you trying to buy Ben back up? If that's the case, just tell me yes in the chat or no. I just want to clarify to make sure I understand. Back to you, Ryan.
Well, number one, I think you guys are massively downplaying how normalized it is for parents to like have like a spanking session, right? Like if it is, you may not perceive it as something that's particularly violent. I think Grace totally acknowledges that it is. Tootie Bug, you're saying that's not the way I do it, and that's fine. That's good, right? I'm not even saying that everyone who does that. Okay, do I have to stop if she starts talking?
What
like
is a
I'm interrupted by a woman? Do I have to stop?
Yes, you have to stop.
It's just a ladies' night thing. I agree with the ladies' night thing. We're not trying to compete with the ladies tonight.
Yeah, I won't.
We're not compete as an example. We won't compete to defend. We're not competing and bragging about spanking kids. We're just having a conversation.
Okay, passive aggressive.
Duck, we know you act like a lady, Duck, but you're not a lady.
This is true. Actually, Jason wanted to clarify something, I think, with Ryan.
Here's something really simple that disproves everything you're saying. Since the more parents are going to your style, school shootings have gone up. I mean, everything, all violence in schools is going up since parents have started doing what you wanted to do as a parent.
I'm sorry, you're going to tell me that like students who have done these school shootings are disproportionately kids who were not?
No, Ryan, I'm saying back when parents spanked their kids, this didn't happen in school.
Okay, so what you're suggesting by saying that is that the parents of these kids are less likely to have spanked them. What do you think the data is going to tell us on
because
that?
people like you say, I'm going to call the cops if you spank the
I think you would
kid."
be very surprised if that's your outlook. I think you would
Yeah,
be unpleasantly
think-
surprised.
I think actually the data shows, Jason, and I could be wrong, but I think the last time we looked at it, it was showing that they were in like traumatizing childhoods and ass beatings with
Sarah,
things
but
bigger
Sarah,
than just ass
traumatizing
beatings.
childhoods can be mental abuse from Ryan
Yeah.
Ryan's way of just yelling at him all the time.
Well, hang on. When I said the yelling thing, I immediately caveated it with like that might be my emotional reaction, and if I thought about it more, I probably wouldn't react that way. And then I addressed how in interpersonal conflict, I actually don't do that very much.
Ryan,
But I do yell.
Ryan,
on
you and
sometimes.
Duck answer something for me. Have y'all even dated someone with a kid before? That's a no.
No, not
Thank
long
you.
term.
Okay.
Not long term.
Adam Lanza lived with his mom.
What are you asking me, Jason?
A lot of these guys.
Jason, what did you wanna
almost
know?
All of these school
Have you
shooters-
even dated someone with a kid before?
Have I dated someone with a kid? Why the
I
fuck
thought
would
Duck
I
has
answer
Duck.
that?
I thought you had kids.
Yeah, but why the fuck would I tell Jason that?
Because it's pretty obvious that you shouldn't be around kids, Duck.
I mean, I've taught.
That's a
I've also
really fucked
like,
up thing to
I've
say,
taken care
Jason.
of kids.
Go
I've taken
fuck
care of kids in a lot of situations. I've helped people raise kids, and I've
You
taught
fucking
kids.
hate me,
Like,
Duck? Oh, my feelings
I
are
said
hurt,
fuck
Duck.
you. I said you're a bitch.
I'm part of the
I didn't
village.
say I hate you.
We get it, Ryan.
well, I mean,
Don't make
realistically,
me
All right,
laugh.
let's bring it back
obviously
around.
have
Let's
a-
bring it back around. Let's bring it back around. Let's bring it back around. So, one thing I do
No one had
think
to follow
in
a restraining order on
terms,
me then.
one thing I do think is, one thing I do think we could consider is the idea that parents have gone to this gentle parenting bullshit, and I feel like from my anecdotal experience, seeing kids who are like that and raised that way, they're fucking assholes. They're spoiled little shits. They're assholes. They completely disrespect their. I've witnessed this with a kid who his mom just does not discipline whatsoever. He gets whatever way he wants, even though she tries the gentle parenting. Then the kid just fucking it just keeps pushing the envelope, and he doesn't do that shit when I'm hanging with him because I'm an asshole, right? I'm like, no, that's
now
it.
here's my
no.
point. Is there a law against that? Is there a law
What?
against that kind of parenting? Are you going to go to jail if you parent like that? No.
No.
Wait, emotional
If you're
abuse?
te-
I mean,
if
you
you're
could.
a teacher and you're like that, no, you don't. It doesn't happen.
No,
it does not
CPS
occur.
wants blood or
It
bruises.
doesn't occur.
They
And
do
when
not
that
No,
care about
I,
emotional
going
wait, you
abuse.
can totally
when that
emotionally
kid-
neglect a child to
when
losing your
that kid
kids. That's
ends up going to
ridiculous.
school and he comes across a teacher who does put his foot down, guess what he does? He tells his mommy and tries to get the teacher fired. I've been in that position many times because
Yeah,
we
that's why they
have
wanted you fired, Ben.
become. Excuse me, Ryan. Why don't you shut the fuck
I said,
up?
I'm sure
literally
that's why
gonna
they.
drive over to
I
you.
sarcastically said, I'm sure that's why they wanted
Shut
you
the
fired.
fuck
I
up,
think they wanted you fired because you're a shitty teacher and a shitty dude. Yeah, I think you're like a bad person, and that's probably why they wanted
daddy
you fired.
issues.
You suck,
Okay,
dude.
you don't know
I
anything
have a
about
good
me.
relationship with my father.
Hey,
I know a lot about you, actually, Ben. I've been
don't
talking to
know
you for
anything about
years.
me. No,
Yeah,
so
actually, I know a shit ton about you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Teach me, Daddy.
Yeah. I'm not doing the gay BDSM with you, okay? You need to find sexual outlets of your own, okay? This is a place
Okay,
to have a
done.
discussion, not to get into gay stuff with Daddy, okay? Daddy doesn't want to hear your bullshit. Now, when I was a teacher, you think you know me. Guess what they used to say to me was my problem as a teacher? The principal.
Pray tell.
What did they used to say? No, why don't you guess since you fucking know everything?
Well, I really have no idea. Yeah.
Oh, okay, but you know everything about me. You just said that, so why don't you
I
guess?
said I know a lot about. I didn't
Why
say I
don't
know
you
everything. I
guess?
said a lot about
Instead
you,
of
and I
beat
do.
the kids, right? Instead I hit the kids. No, they say
No, I don't
you're
think you hit
too
the
nice
kids.
of a guy and you're too open to having discussion. You need to be tougher on the kids. That was the complaint. So you're
Okay.
wrong, right? You're wrong.
I guess about that one assumption, yeah, potentially.
Okay.
I mean, assuming you're telling the truth right now, which I would not be so sure, right? Because you do, yeah, I mean, you do skew the truth quite a bit, but you know,
a little bit
potentially I'm
about my
wrong.
family. Okay, just keep spurting. You know a little
Yeah,
bit about
potentially
my
I'm wrong,
family.
but
Guess
not
who,
necessarily.
Guess who the parent was who was the nice parent in my family? That the kids were all
I'm
like,
guessing you're
"He's a
saying
nice guy."
it's you, but right now it doesn't seem to be the case, right? It seems like most of your kids don't or aren't living with you, right?
You don't
They're
know
living with your
fuck
parent?
all about what my situation is.
Yeah, how many of your kids are you currently living around?
That
Out
has
of seven,
nothing to do with that. That has nothing to do
Is
with
it
that.
1 out of 7?
That has to do with your regime. your regime that you say you're not going to push on anyone of utilizing the police when a woman is mentally ill to destroy a man's life and separate him from his kids. That's what that has to do with. It has nothing to do with anything else.
I mean, it could be that, or it could be that you are actually an unstable, unfit father, and that's why the state has decided that you shouldn't be the one raising your
The state
kids.
hasn't decided that.
Maybe
hasn't decided that.
Well, whatever.
So,
It's right now that those
why
kids
don't
are.
you be a little bit more respectful and careful in what you say?
I mean, I don't know whether the state's decided it. The fact is that those kids are not living with you.
Anything.
That's fine. The fact is those kids are not living with you.
Parental alienation.
Maybe they would be.
Right, okay. And anyone, if they want to, can accuse their spouse of doing anything. And in our regime, which I assume they will automatically separate you from your kids for years.
That's just not true. That's just not true.
That's absolutely
Accusations
true.
No, that's not true. Accusations don't determine that. No.
That's absolutely true. And I'll tell you why. Because what is it that is supposed to prevent people from lying in court? What is it?
The burden of evidence and having.
No, what do you do when you go to court, which I did with Grace last week? You hold up your hands under penalty
Sure.
of what?
Perjury.
Perjury. Perjury is a felony in almost every state. Lying in court is a felony in almost every state. I went and pursued, like, how do you get someone prosecuted for perjury? And you know what the answer is? You don't in civil court. They don't pursue it, period. You can say whatever you want about another person, and there is no penalty. No penalty. Do you think that if a woman let's say a woman accuses you of raping or whatever we want to say, grape or something, do you think she's going to go to jail for that?
Probably not.
No. And that's a problem, isn't it, Ryan?
Potentially. I mean, I think that false
It wouldn't
accusations.
be a problem for you? It wouldn't be a problem for you?
So I think that false accusations of any crime can get you legal consequences. So
Consequences?
Yeah, I might have misspoke there, but you know what I meant. So we can move on.
No, you said consequences. That's
Did you
not
not?
what you said.
So do you want me to? Okay, so
Do you
consequences.
know how to
is what
say
I
it
meant to
right?
I apologize.
Why don't you
think
say
so.
oh yeah, I misspoke. Okay.
I
So
literally.
You're
wait, that's-
saying,
Ben,
are
what the
you
fuck?
okay? Are you okay with the regime of law in which certain types of accusations? I understand in criminal court there can be sometimes consequences. In civil court or family court, there are literally no consequences. Do you think that's okay?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So you're crazy.
I mean, I don't know if there's
You
no
don't
consequences.
think there should be
It
penalties
sounds-
for lying and destroying a family?
Well, you said jail time specifically. I don't know that there's no consequences. I think that a civil case could probably be re-examined if
In
there
the
was
law-
someone demonstrated to have done perjury.
All right, so you disagree with what it says in the law. In the law, in Rhode Island, most states, perjury is a felony, which means a very high level of crime, right? On paper,
I don't know if
it's
that's
a
the case.
felony.
If that's
And
the case
why
in
is it a
some
felony,
cases, I don't
Ryan?
know.
Why is it a felony to go in court before the state and lie? You don't understand that?
So I don't know if that's the case during civil courts, but I mean, if it is,
you understand that?
it's chargeable, right?
Why is it a felony?
Because the whole point of a court case is to establish the facts of the situation. I'm assuming.
No, because in court we're talking about very serious things usually, right? So when we're going to give testimony and the court is going to listen to us, we want to make sure that you are telling the truth. And the
So
way
just to be
we make
clear,
sure of that
yeah.
is that if you're lying, it's a felony. You can get up to 20 years in prison in this state for it.
So just to be clear, Ben,
But
you're
there's no mechanism
okay.
for enforcing it, and you're not sure whether you agree with that. Then you're
Well, I'm
crazy.
sure, well, hang on. I'm not sure whether or not I think it should be criminally, but I believe that if you have strong evidence that someone perjured themselves during a civil case with you, that you do actually have precedent for a civil case against them. And I think that would probably be something you should engage in if you have that
So
evidence.
you're saying that the way it
You
works
have that
is
evidence
crazy.
because you're a lying loser.
Which costs more money, Ron.
What?
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, court costs money. Yeah, duh.
Court does not cost money.
Wait, I mean, if you're gonna have a case, it's gonna come at some point. It's gonna come out of your
It
money.
costs the state money.
Okay, but if you have a lawyer involved, you're gonna have to pay them, right?
Yes, and you don't
Perjury,
need to have a
perjury
lawyer
is a
involved.
criminal. Perjury is a criminal offense.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
the
You
prosecution
cannot
has
sue.
to bring
You
it
cannot.
forward.
You cannot sue someone for committing perjury. Perjury is considered a criminal matter, not a civil one.
okay, so the suit wouldn't be that they perjured themselves. The suit would be that something about the civil case, right? It'd be I don't know the exact phrase. I guarantee there's no way. There's no.
You're just. Why can't you
commit a
just admit
crime
you're
in a
wrong?
civil case,
You're wrong.
Ryan.
I think I am. I don't think I
take out a
you guys
gun
are-
and shoot
you guys are
in
sorry.
civil court. That is a
I didn't
crime,
interrupt
even
you.
though
I was
it's in
responding to what your daughter said. Yeah, my bad. So what I'm saying is that I think you guys are relying on the fact that I don't know the specific legal precedent for how you handle someone perjuring themselves in a civil case, right? But I suspect that if you had the evidence that they did perjure themselves in that case, you would be able to utilize it. But frankly, don't
You
think
just said.
do.
Wait. You
I
just
think-
said you would be able to utilize it in a civil case against them. You cannot sue someone for committing perjury, whether they did or not.
You could sue them for other things, right? Like there are other things.
What does that
sue
have
someone-
to do with the perjury? You could sue someone for something else if they commit perjury. That doesn't
It
follow.
could be acted as evidence in a separate case. No,
Let's talk about what should be.
you don't have the evidence anyway, Ben. 'Cause you're lying.
What
Mrs.
should-
Balderson, go ahead.
If you ask me, anyone, male or female, who falsely accuses somebody of a crime should have to serve the time that that person that they accused falsely would have served. It's not only a deterrent, but it's a fair punishment.
Okay, but what about in civil cases where like families
There
are
should be a
separated?
civil penalty for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Just a monetary
Grace and
penalty.
we were handed a restraining order by a judge because he said, well, she doesn't know what you might do, even though there was no evidence that we had any nefarious intentions. So our right to free speech is abrogated, our right to bear arms is abrogated, and our right to freely move in the polity is abrogated. Massive rights are taken away from us, and it's based on now. This is what I said to him, and he didn't like it. I said, well, then anyone could get a restraining order because anyone could say, I don't know what the person might do. And what did he do? He yelled at me because the system is corrupt.
It's public, by the way. I'm curious. Are all the court documents public of this?
This was with a. There is a transcript
What?
out there. This was with a YouTuber, not with
Interesting.
my mom. But yeah, you can find it.
Oh, okay. So wait. Oh, wait. So you're talking about okay. You're saying you have evidence that a YouTuber or whatever perjured you in a case, and you can't do anything about that?
Yeah, she said I told
She
people
also
to
did
mace.
perjure
She said
us,
I told people to mace her. That's just a complete lie. But there's nothing I can do about it. What you're supposed to do is go to the state police or the DA with it. They're not going to do jack shit. I've
No, they
already
tell
done this
you
in Rhode
they're not
Island.
going to do
They
anything.
tell you we're not pursuing this.
And then
So
we talked to lawyers. They're
no.
like, there's
no
you can't do it.
consequences.
You have to do it yourself.
That's a
You
defamation
can't do it
case.
yourself.
you
It's a
can't do
crime. It's a
anything.
crime. The police would have to take action.
The state
Or
will
the
not
DA.
act on it because no,
Perjury
because
is a
this-
crime.
What happens is the state says, and this is the thinking of people like Ryan, we want to be so sure that we protect potential victims that we absolutely run roughshod over innocence, which is exactly the opposite of the legal theory of the
If they
founding
don't
of
do
our
it, that's
entire
called-
legal system.
One second.
No, because if they don't do it, then that's called unequal application of the law.
No. The way it works is this. Remember with Trump?
You can
One
also go
second.
to the court and
I'm fast.
Get the judge to. You got to write it out for them and do a writ of mandamus. Make them do their job. You just
No,
learn
you
how to-
can't.
Do that because
No. Hold on.
That's
One
a
second,
criminal. That
guys.
would be a criminal case. You can't do a criminal case
Yeah.
in a civil.
Unfortunately, I agree with Ben. So this is the way it works. Is so with you have to sue for damages, and you can only do that if they had the intent to defame you. That's why Trump won
court
his
documents are
lawsuits because they knowwingly did what they did. You understand?
You can't
Court
sue someone.
documents are protected.
You can't
not
sue
perjury.
Yeah, you
That's
can't-
not
you
For
can't
perjury.
damages. No, I
That's not perjury,
understand.
but you can't sue
But
someone for what they
that's
say.
what I'm
in
trying to
court.
say.
You can't sue
Is
someone for what they
those
say. in court.
news
All right,
corporations.
Everybody, stop for a second. Stop. Everybody's all up in this shit. You can't sue for perjury. That's what Ben and Grace are trying to elaborate. Defamation, that is completely different from perjury. Perjury is like I go into court and I say I'm going to tell the truth and then I don't. Defamation is
Yes.
where you lie publicly, like in a newspaper or on a panel.
But that's what I'm
or-
agreeing about. Is when they try to take him to court and stuff like that, nobody gets sued for perjury.
You sue the
It's a
agency.
crime.
You sue the agency, not the person. Stupid.
What agency?
What agency?
Also,
You said that the DA isn't going to do their job, you sue the agents, you stupid.
Well, why do you? Well,
What the
no.
fuck are you doing?
Sue the DA?
You're going to sue the
Yes,
DA
you can
for
sue
not
the
doing his job.
agency. Yes.
You can, but you need.
Yeah, it's a
you
law.
need
Well,
to
that's
take
like
it
a
to the
civil
Supreme Court.
rights thing. I mean, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it's a
is.
big civil rights
Exactly. That's
thing.
what I just said. It's unequal
That-
application of the law. It's the
That would be
14th
a
Amendment.
lot harder to do.
That's a
It
that's
would
a
take-
difficult
it would
thing to
take,
do.
like a huge
It is.
organized
To
effort
learn
to do
the
that.
rules and do the job.
The
that you-
average
if
person
you want it
shouldn't
done, you
have to
gotta do
sue
it.
their DA
Okay,
to
all
get
right.
justice in court. Like
That
that's
is
not
true.
reasonable.
Maybe it will set a precedence if it works. Alexander says, if spoken under oath, knowingly false and material to case, it is perjury. But the evidence needed to prosecute them for it is too high in 99% of cases. Ben, take a chill pill.
Oh, can I
That's
respond to
true.
that
They
really
don't
quick?
care
Wait, let me
how much
respond
Sure,
to that.
Grace. Go ahead,
Let me
Grace.
respond to that really quick because there was a black girl who got her 16-year-old boyfriend locked up for 6 years. It was a very famous case. She accused him of raping her under the high school stairwell. He was like going to be a pro football player. She ruined his life. He went to jail for 6 years. She came out later and admitted it was completely fake. She had been having sex with him under the stairwell, and hold on one second. Sorry. She had been having sex with him. Somebody found them. She didn't want her mom to know, so she accused him of rape. The DA in her county or whatever specifically said he would not be going after her for criminal charges. All the evidence was against her. She admitted it. They said they were not pursuing charges against her at all.
And what this is evidence of, and the reason why you can technically sue the DA, you can technically sue the police, but why no one cares is because we agree with this as a society. We have two systems of law in the United States of America. We have the paper system, and then we have the actual system. And the actual system panders to the victim mentality of women.
So I'm just curious. I'm reading about this thing called Rule 60B in Rhode Island specifically, where it's a pathway where you can ask the court to relieve you from a final judgment or order, like a restraining order in your case, Ben. And this is like, if you can show that the judgment was affected by fraud, misrepresentation, or other misconduct, then you can use this rule. So have you considered this path?
You can appeal things. Yeah.
Why aren't you?
Because he's fucking lazy.
Well, it just happened. I don't know. Well, because
Oh yeah,
well,
you said it was like last week or something, right?
yeah, we may pursue
You should be over it. This sounds like a pretty strong case you have.
I apologize, Ben. That was out of order. I apologize.
Well, I mean, but the question is, should I have to prove that I'm innocent?
Unfortunately,
Well, hang on. What do you mean innocent? We're talking about a civil case, right?
Shouldn't the judge have said? Shouldn't the judge have judged that according to like that there was evidence that basically we were accused of stalking, and stalking is a very specific ordinance. It's a criminal offense, but it's used in restraining orders, and you have to show that 2 or more times you followed someone in a way that a reasonable person would experience fear for their safety, for their physical safety. Okay, no evidence of that was presented whatsoever. So, but instead, the judge said,
okay,
no,
go ahead.
it
What did the
wasn't
judge say?
objectively.
Yeah. What did the judge
So-
say instead? Yeah.
Okay, so like if I had said like I'm going to kill you, I'm brandishing a weapon, sure, all of that. I'm following someone, sure. None of that occurred. And the judge acknowledged that by saying, well, she can't be sure of what you're actually going to do. So in lieu of all evidence, his only thing was, well, you might do something. Okay, that's not a standard of law.
No.
Yeah. And Ben pardon me for just a moment, Ryan. Ben Ride says, I haven't really been watching, but I'm sure Ben is saying something dumb enough to be put backstage for another 10 minutes. I'm going to put you backstage for a timer. Hopefully Grace can continue to answer the questions. I'll set a timer now, Ben.
He actually wasn't
I
being
think
dumb.
the thing to take away, right, is that I just found this Rule 60B in like a quick search, right? So it's if Ben has something specific that he knows this person either like that was fraud, misrepresentation, or other misconduct, then he should be able to seek relief from judgment and problem solve there, right? Like obviously there are remedies to these things, and Ben has been asserting for the past hour that these
I'll tell
remedies
you
don't
one
exist,
thing,
and Grace is
Ryan.
going to come about that.
What's written is not what is done, because it also says in Rhode Island, if you have evidence of perjury, you can go to the state police and they'll pursue it. We had
Where
an
does it say
entire
that?
document, and the state police said they didn't. We took it to the DA. They said we're not even going to look at it. We don't do that. Like, I know it's in the
Grace-
books. We don't do that. So,
Yeah,
like, you can
so you-
say, I mean, yeah, I'm sure maybe we could appeal. I'm sure they'd hear it in a court. But at the end of the day, if one judge says, well, she doesn't know what you're going to do, so I'm granting this, when this person that we're talking about assaulted me and has a criminal charge pending for assaulting me, she was granted the restraining order. Like, what's the point? What's the point?
Well, I mean, I'm just like, someone can assault someone and still be granted a restraining order. Yeah, I mean, is that crazy?
That's pretty crazy. That the person who
I mean,
ripped
there's
hair out of my
separate-
scalp is getting a restraining order against me.
Well, there's
and you know why she did
laws
it?
that can be broken,
She-
right? And separate things
she-
or charges
she-
that can be pressed against each other, right?
Well, it's not a charge. See, this is the problem. It's this gray
Sure.
area because
Yeah,
it's a
wrong
civil
word,
thing.
yeah.
So at the end of
Yeah.
the court date, the judge goes, "I'm not saying you stalked her. I'm not saying you did anything wrong. I'm just saying she doesn't know what you might do next. So therefore, I'm granting this." If you think that's like a rational thing, and I'm going to go back to that court and say like, "No, these people are reasonable," I'm not inclined to.
Assume I assume you're directly quoting the judge correctly, which I'm suspicious of, frankly. But secondly,
Okay.
if you do feel that you've been so drastically wronged by this ruling, then you should be in the process of filing an appeal as we speak. Like, that should be your main priority, right?
And typically, there's a time limit, so you want to study up on those rules, make sure that you format it correctly, and put it in if you really want to
Get to
hash it out.
It's a matter of whether it's worth it or not. So
True.
there's a lot of
Yeah,
time
why-
to put into
You
it.
have a
I
strong
agree
case
at 100%.
also.
When this conversation was going round and round, I was like, in my mind, I'm going restraining order on someone you really don't care to be around. Who the fuck cares? You know, it's like,
No, yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's a 6-month temporary thing. It's just, I just think it was like it was law based on feelings from the judge, which is not how it's supposed to work. But
Yeah, and
it is
if
what
you
it is.
feel that it was so wrongly given, then I think it would
oh my
it would
god, if you're gonna
behoove
say
you.
the same thing again, I already heard you, and I said it depends on whether it's worth.
I mean,
it or
your
not.
reputation's on the line, right? Like, if it looks bad
Not
if
really.
if someone's been granted
Not
a
really.
restraining order against you for stalking specifically. I mean, like, that's a pretty bad look, Grace.
well, no, it wasn't stalking. In fact, what Ben was saying is that
Allegedly,
there was no
yeah.
stalking or anything really. So
Eh.
even if somebody
Apparently
really,
I mean,
public,
people
so.
who follow me know who this person is.
yeah,
so.
if somebody took
I know who they are,
a
too.
really good look at the case,
Was it a peace, Grace? Was it a peace order or was it a specific like stay away?
It was 100 yards away. That was about it. And don't
But I mean-
contact.
But there's a difference because I know a peace order can be granted pretty easily with very limited evidence, right? You just have to basically say, I feel threatened. Here's a few reasons why, blah, 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 blah. And the standard is pretty low in terms of what you have to prove. And it's kind of more like a temporary peace-ish. But then you can go forward and do like a full on, what's the word?
Restraining order?
Yes, restraining order.
Hmm.
So
I
they-
haven't gotten in the mail, so I really don't know. It was a civil protection order.
Yeah, that might be like in the realms of like a peace order, which the standard, the bar's really, really low for what they have to show.
It is, yeah. it
Yeah.
is.
But a restraining order in and of itself, like the bar's significantly higher, I think.
Yeah, from what I
For
understand,
non-family,
too,
yeah.
I
I don't
know
know.
in-
Yeah.
Yeah, I know in Florida, like you actually have to be living with the person and be a family member. So it seems odd for it to be a full-on restraining order.
Just to be clear, this is a situation where you were like streaming or something and like walked into a building where you knew they were. Is it something like that?
No, I walked into a building she had eaten at previously. She returned and assaulted me.
I mean, I've seen the video. That doesn't seem like exactly what happened. I think it was dumb for her to assault you, by the way. But I
thank
also
you.
think that if you are following people around in person,
My
then
scalp
unfortunately,
feels the same
realistically,
way.
By
yeah,
the
I'm
way,
sure.
that's
like,
actually a battery,
Ron,
not
this-
an
Ron, this coming from
Realistically,
you
if
that
it's
said
true,
I
it is
deserve to
battery,
be
it is
assaulted by a
You know
trans
what?
person
You
for
know
not
what else
calling
is
him a
crazy?
woman.
You know what else is
I
crazy, Clay?
never said
So
that, did I?
This,
You did.
this,
We talked about
this
Jason.
woman assaulted me on
I said
camera,
you
came
deserve to
at
be
me,
assaulted?
ripped
What are you
hair out
talking
of
about?
my scalp, like inside of a restaurant, right? I had it on camera. Well, I called the police. I go to the police. She's trying to put a charge on me. I show the police the evidence. They give her a breach of peace. I was like, what are you talking about? It's battery. I showed him my scalp where hair was missing. I was like, she ripped chunks of hair out of my scalp.
I thought you said there's pending charges.
Breach of
You have,
peace.
like,
It's a criminal charge, but like breach of peace, really?
I'm gonna tell you this story about a recent audit I did. These maintenance workers, whatever, they were acting like security. Guy grabbed his nuts and started shaking them at me, and the older guy that I'm with, right? Now, we went to file sexual assault charges. That's a sexual assault, as far as I'm concerned. The police did not want to take it, but we actually forced them to take it because she tried to say it was like free speech, him grabbing his nuts and shaking him because I was sitting down and the old guy was sitting down. Ultimately, we forced them to take a separate charge about that incident where another guy actually hip checked the old guy. So now that it's on paper, we can pursue it in a different fashion where now we're going to the higher ups. So we're basically going to the supervisor, the lieutenant, and saying, hey, there are some things that need to be corrected. And so it's a long, stupid, drawn out process. And the process is the punishment. And the person who is the victim has to follow up and has to make these people do their job. Unfortunately, in this country, the justice system is not doing what they're supposed to do in a lot of cases. I know sometimes they are, like if it's a really crazy, crazy situation, somebody gets extremely hurt, but like a little tiff or whatever, they just look at it and go, we'll give them a breach of the peace. But you have to make them do their job. You have to follow up. You have to make the court do their job. You actually have to read the rules. It's crazy that we actually have to do this in this country, but unfortunately you have to.
Sarah, can I make the request?
If a man had attacked me, my dad shoved me and he got arrested. If a man had done what this woman did to me, he would have been in handcuffs, in jail. 100%.
Yeah, I do agree. The actions are both one and the same.
Can I make the request to hear more from Tootie and Miss Balderson?
Yes, absolutely.
Just really quick, Clay, do you actually believe that like you were sexually assaulted by that guy doing that?
Oh, absolutely. No, I don't play about that. Somebody grabbing their genitals and shaking them in my face.
Like how far away from your face? Like right up next to it?
Yeah,
maybe sexual
within
harassment.
Within 3 feet, maybe 4.
Maybe he had an itch.
Was there context? Like, was he mad at you or something?
Yeah, maybe he's got crabs. No, I was so basically like with auditing. You know what auditing is? First Amendment auditing. People get really crazy with this.
Oh, you're an auditor.
Yeah. So
okay.
This guy happened to get really crazy, along with 3 other guys, trying to kick us out of a private building that has public offices. So we have public access. They didn't like us being there.
I've seen those videos. Yeah.
Yeah. And
When the guy grabbed his nuts, was he wearing clothes or did he like take his nuts out? Just
he
curious.
did not take his nuts out.
Okay.
So he was kind of like saying like, I don't like you. So he was shaking his nuts.
Yeah,
you were sitting, he was standing.
Ryan, think I was going to hold up
I
a
mean,
sexual assault?
Sexual assault?
Absolutely.
And that's why our country is
When
going
I said
downhill
question.
when people think this is sexual assault.
Problem is,
well, maybe it's not because
it's no big deal. The dude just
I didn't say
shook
it's no
his
big deal. That's a different thing. Hang on, Clay. To be clear,
town.
Clay, stop. Can I respond? I'm not saying it's no. I never said it's no big deal. I think it is a big deal to like grab your nuts and shake them in someone's face.
I'll
You
say
shouldn't
it.
do
It's
that.
no big deal. I'll shake
Okay,
my
I don't
nuts
think
in
you
your
should do
face.
that. I don't think you should do that. But to be clear, Clay,
It's not sexual
Clay,
assault unless you're homosexual.
Sexual assault, bro.
It is not. That's
Well, it sounds like it's not.
Grow up,
Sounds like
Clay.
the
You were
problem-
being annoying.
Here's the thing.
You were being
Look,
annoying
you
to me.
tried that shit on me, Ben. I would
So
literally.
let me ask the ladies. Let me ask the ladies.
Shut up.
Let me ask
Shut
the
up.
ladies. You can
Grow
all
up.
shut all of your mouths now. Thank you very kindly.
Such a
Mrs. Balderson, if a man came up and shook his junk in front of your face, would you feel sexually assaulted by that act?
I think I would probably point and laugh and would get a better result than freaking out and calling the cops. Unless he was like physically coming towards me and charging me.
Clay, what did you feel like he was saying to you when he was
Tootie, if a man, stop for a second. We're gonna ask the ladies. Tootie,
fighting you?
If a man came, I'd say gentleman, but we all know it's not a gentleman. If a man came up to you and shook his junk in your face and carried on about, how would you deem that as a sexual assault?
No.
What if he did it in
Well,
the
it's
children's
different with women, though.
What
I
if he
mean,
did it in the family center. What
But
if he did
now-
it right in
That
front of
was
the
done to my
DCF office?
kids.
Clay.
Right in front of the
So
DCF
you're-
office.
Listen to me, Clay. Now,
That's
so
crazy.
you're
Clay,
saying
do you
that
think this is a
when-
sexual
when
assault?
all these women
Clay,
go
do you think
to,
this is a
like,
sexual assault?
concert,
Because this
you
is
got there
a symbol.
grabbing
Hold on, hold on. Tootie's trying to talk, and I have a rule for ladies tonight. Tootie, go ahead. Tootie, go ahead. Tootie, go ahead.
Now, when you see all these ladies going to these concerts, like an Usher concert, and he's up there grabbing his thing, dancing around, shaking all around. Is he sexually assaulting them?
It wasn't an Usher concert. It was at the DCF
That's-
office.
you're not understanding my
It wasn't
question.
an Usher concert.
Clay, what if the guy said,
factor
suck
there?
my dick? What if the guy said, suck my dick?
Time, place,
Go ahead, Tootie. Go ahead, Tootie.
I'm talking directly to Clay. Okay. You're claiming that this cop, whatever, sexually assaulted you by shaking his junk in your face, right? So, are all these women that go to these concerts and they got the performer up there shaking his thing and everything at them, are they being sexually assaulted?
Clay, have you been to therapy over this?
I'm asking Clay. Jesus,
This is not a
Christ.
concert. What the fuck? So you're cool with
It was a concert. It was. It was.
Fuck up, retard.
It was a
You know,
concert.
shut the fuck up.
You should have been
retard.
charged for it.
Shut the fuck up, retard. I'm trying to have a conversation.
It was theater. You were doing theater.
I didn't realize.
Alexander asks a question. He says, Clay, I have to ask, were you sitting or somehow at face level, or was he
kneeling. He was
just
kneeling.
3 feet away? Clay, can we get an answer?
I would love to give you an answer, but not if Ben's going to talk over me. I'm
Oh,
not gonna do
Clay.
that. I'm not going to.
Oh, why don't you go charge me with sexual assault?
I'm not
Suck my
interested
dick,
in
Clay. How
having
about that?
Hey, look,
Clay, could you kindly answer?
Heroes who are cool with dudes grabbing their nuts in the family center where there are children. I'm not okay.
Oh, now you're making it about kids. It was
It's
about
the
you
chillins.
originally.
It's the chillins I care about.
Retard, but you can't hear me.
It's all them chillins I care about.
Alexander, according to his story, he was sitting down, and this
Watch
guy
the
was
video.
standing. This guy
You
was
can watch
standing
the
up.
video. You can watch the video
Actually-
right at the DCF office.
Actually,
Retard.
can we get the video on the timestamp? Can we actually
Oh.
review it? Can we
Is
see
there
it?
a video?
I'm 100% on his side.
Let's see. I want to see
Hold
the
on,
video.
hold
I do want to see the
hold
video.
on, hold on, hold on.
Suck my dick, Clay.
I second Grace's emotion there. or motion,
third.
whatever. Third, fourth, everyone else in a. Okay,
Yes.
Clay, can I have
Please,
the link
Jesus,
to the video?
can we please watch this hilarious video?
Clay's trauma.
Mrs. Balderson, please go ahead, my darling.
While I would not consider it sexual harassment if somebody did that to me, I would if it were my kids, and if it's a police officer
No.
in a family setting, in a building where kids are going to be.
It wasn't a police officer.
It wasn't. Okay, I thought you said it was a police.
It was a
officer.
maintenance worker.
It was
Clay shoots low.
Not appropriate.
Shut the fuck up,
He wants to
retard.
put a good man.
All right, you
who's got a job.
two need the
Banging
room.
My
Miss
thought.
Balderson.
Mrs. Balderson.
Clay,
to
put
you,
the link in the
please.
back chat. Come on, let's go.
Had it
Yeah.
been a police officer, that would have absolutely been an abuse of power.
You guys
Yes.
ever heard of Windex over there in the Balderson?
I don't know how I
household?
heard that
window
wrong.
is
Sarah, I'm
real.
about to go. Can I say one thing?
Retard.
All
You guys,
right,
like,
let's
vomit on
hold.
the window
Everyone
every day?
hold. Ryan, please make your exit. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I mean, to address this, I mean, I could buy that it's like sexual harassment. I think the issue you're going to run into to getting a sexual assault charge with that is plainly precedent, which is why I was pushing back against what Jason was saying. That, the country's doomed if this is the precedent for sexual assault. It sounds like a lot of the issues he was running into when trying to get this charge pressed is that there probably isn't that sort of precedent for something like this being charged and successfully convicted of anyone of sexual assault, right? So
Ridiculous. That's why.
yeah, exactly.
It's his exit.
Agreed.
Let me assault you. Let me assault you.
Hey, hold on.
Let
It
me
is his
assault you.
exit.
Cry, bitch.
Everyone,
Yeah, let me
God
say-
damn it. Shut the fuck up. It is his exit. That means you shut your mouth. It's his final thought. Zip it. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were a lot of complaints in the past like hour or so about like the legal system, and I think there's a lot of problems with the legal system. Like, there's a lot of issues, and we could go into a million of them. But like at the end of the day, like there are these processes, and like a lot of them are in place for reasons. And I think that when we get one side of a story, whether it's Clay or Ben or Grace, like etc., like I think we miss out on a lot. Number one, there's other parties involved in everything they described, and number two, there's like they are not giving us all of the information about whatever case. They're only giving their side, not what the judge is saying entirely. I thought
Yappa. You are looking
I
like
love
a
yapping.
rat.
I have a lot to say. Yeah,
maybe Daddy's wrong.
And I'll
Finish your thought, please.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll finish by
Umbreon.
reminding everyone that me and Umbreon have been streaming pretty much every day of December, except for the last couple of days. I missed out. I was just spending some quality time with my girlfriend. But other than that, we've streamed every day of December, and we're gonna keep streaming even on Christmas. We're gonna do at least a short stream. So if you guys want to catch any of that, I highly recommend that you go over to youtube.com/@radicalcoder. Drop the link in the chat. Love me or hate me, I guarantee that I'm entertaining and fun to fight with or fun to talk to. So we'd love to have you there. We got a pretty good growing community, and we would love to have you as a part of it. Even the Thorpes are welcome there from time to time.
Okay, we'll catch you there. Bye. Bye. Go away now.
I think. Hold on. I think Miss Balderson wanted to ask you something, Ryan.
Oh, sure.
No, I just wanted to say something. Ryan, I really appreciate you. I don't always agree with you, but I really appreciate your level head. I think you have a really good heart. I really respect you.
I think you suck.
Thank you, Miss Balderson. That means a lot. and Ben, that also means a lot.
Ryan, I disagree with most of your points, but I think your dog's adorable.
I've come to loathe you much less over the past year.
Thank you all for the kind words.
Goodbye,
I loathe
Timu
you less.
Hassan and Timu
Go
Kaya.
do your streams to nobody. You're not going to gain any fans here. Go away.